Good morning, everybody. GM. All right, let's go. Welcome, everybody. Glad you're all here. Got some great stuff for you today. We got an important conversation, great insight. And it is up to us. Control our destiny, captains of our fate, masters of our souls. Okay, let's do this. Here we go. Everybody's in. Let's start by talking about this chart real quick here. Okay, good morning, folks. GM. Look at this. Would you look at this? Is this working here? Is this working? Maybe I want to look at this. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Look at that. All right, folks. Why real estate? Why real estate and why now? Good morning. My name is Michael Huggins. Happy to have you here. We got a great one today. Some of you have been wondering how to get into real estate, how to grow your real estate, how to take advantage of what's happening in the market and grow your wealth so that you are in control of your life and not banks, not corporations, not government, but you. You're in the right place. Excited to share with you steps, ideas, plans so that you can get into your next deal in a much more profitable way, reducing your risk and having more fun while you're doing it and making friends. That's what this whole idea is about. If you don't get into real estate, as you can see by the data we've gathered here, now this is from the Census Bureau and Bureau of Labor Statistics. This has been tracked for the last 110 years. If you bought a house, you know what I'm talking about. If you've bought several houses, your net worth is absolutely up. But if you've just been saving money, you can see right here, a 97% loss in purchase power in the dollar over the last 100 years. This is why real estate. This is one reason why real estate. If you store your money in assets, you get to essentially keep the value. If you don't, the value will be robbed. And it's an important thing. You're working so hard for your money, working, uh, some people are working 2 jobs, 3 jobs, and to take that money and then just watch it get devalued like this, it's got to be motivating to do something different. Now, there's a bunch of different types of real estate, and in some regard, real estate can be extremely risky. I know people who've lost a boatload of money, set them back years. They skipped workshops like this. Look, real estate can be a life changer. Inside of 12 months, if you focus and you do what we're talking about, and you plug in every day, you build a system with us, you can revolutionize everything and get your freedom. You can make more money faster than you ever thought possible, but you have to get committed to the process. You have to completely change your mindset. You cannot approach this with an employee mindset that you can just clock in, clock out, and someone else will pay the bills and everything will be okay. It's not going to work like that. This business, this workshop would not be for you if that's the approach. However, if you're the type of mindset that says, hey, I want to control my destiny, I want to know exactly where I'm going to be, how much money I have, I want to pay the least amount of taxes, I want to raise my chance for gain as much as possible while reducing my risk, you're in the right room. Real estate is the way to do it. And we're going to be talking on a few topics today, and then we'll show you how to plug in with us for the rest of the year so that you can stay in control. You can have eyes wide open. You got people on each side of you double checking things so that you can maximize your returns. Otherwise, you're doomed. You're doomed to a life of mediocrity and 50-hour work weeks in a corporation where you pay the most in taxes, you have no time freedom, and your dollar is being devalued. So let's get into real estate. Let's stay focused. Let's stay grateful. Let's stay engaged. And you're going to have to challenge your mindset on a few things, because if this is your first time with us, or you're brand new to real estate investing, it is a completely different mindset than what you picked up in the K through 12 model. Right? You go to college, you go to school, and they're going to tell you how to think a certain way. That thinking will keep you trapped. So as we get into it and we start to install this new mindset, I'm really excited to introduce to you our first trainer for the day. He has completely revolutionized his life using real estate investing, business ownership, and extreme action. No other way to describe this man except for extreme action. When first getting into real estate investing, it's not necessarily easy and it's risky. And if you don't know people, you don't have a community, you don't have a body of knowledge, and you're just trying to go off of books and YouTube videos, you're going to lose money and you're going to get hurt. It's risky. There are people out there who can sense that you're a noob, and they'll tell you all kinds of snake oil and hot potatoes, and you'll be left with the bag wondering what happened. And then you'll hear people go, oh, I tried real estate. It's not for me. Oh no, real estate's too risky. They shouldn't have the right mindset, the right tools, the right team. But here we're a team of winners. We're a team of action takers. Our group over the last 15 years has done over 10,000 real estate deals. And there's a system to it. There's a way to do it with the least amount of time, maximum gain, while having fun and making friends. And Mr. Bill Prederbahn is a great example of that. Starting out broke, bankrupt, destitute, confused, frustrated, mad, wondering how did he get himself into this mess, losing hundreds of thousands of dollars in a business deal, and ended up couch surfing, trying to figure out, wait a minute, how am I this old in America and broke? Then he met our group. and he got to work. And before you know it, he had a pile of real estate deals on his desk. And inside of the first year, he changed everything. Now, that was over a decade and hundreds of deals ago. Since then, he's systematized. He's raised over $50 million. He's probably going to correct me that it's more than that now. And done every kind of deal: lease options, fix and flips, short-term rentals, long-term rentals, development, new construction, putting together real estate funds, using retirement accounts. The man's tax and legal strategies will blow you away. So that's what we're going to talk about today: deal structuring, negotiating, how to think about your taxes, how to think about your legal. One thing is that you are not you in the real estate world. You have an entity, and we're going to get into this, but that mindset of you incorporated is going to change everything for you. And Bill is a great example of that. The other thing I admire about Bill is he's got heart, not just talent. He actually cares about people. You know, it's really weird. A lot of people say they care, but then when it comes to asking them some advice, they say pound sand. But not Bill. Bill is someone who's been committed to this community for over a decade. He answers questions on a daily, weekly basis. He shows people step by step how the deals are working. You practically got a guide looking over your shoulder when it's time to execute. You need someone like Bill in your corner. You need someone who has the knowledge and who cares. When I asked other students about Bill, what they like about him, it's things like he tells the truth. There's no fluff with him. Straight to the point with the most up-to-date information. He shares from experience. And this guy gets up every day with a sense of gratitude and responsibility. And those two things are also going to make a difference for you in your real estate: being responsible and being grateful, because it's a people business. People about real estate. But if you don't focus on the people side, it's going to be a tough go at building your wealth. Now, he's amassed millions of dollars in real estate. He's created millions of dollars of income for himself. And we're really excited to spend the morning with him to glean some great insight into the market, into negotiating, into tax, into legal, so that we can make the most money in the least amount of time while having fun and making friends. So let's give a big warm welcome to our host with the most, Mr. Bill Perettibon. Good morning. How you doing?
I'm great, brother.
I'm happy to have you here. It's a beautiful day. We got a room full of happy, hungry students. And yeah, thanks for being here.
All right, I appreciate it. It's good to be here.
What's the latest and greatest?
How we sounding?
Loud and proud. I love it.
Cool. I didn't hear you. What did you say?
What is the latest and greatest? What do you work
Okay,
with?
I made a few notes.
Yeah.
This is awesome to be here. Thanks, everybody. I hope everybody realizes this. The man who just introduced me, Michael Huggins, you guys, you have a gem in a leader with Michael. And for those of you who don't know Michael or are new to Michael, however you found him, be extremely grateful. Michael is a young adult. And I mean that literally. And, he started this when he was 22 years old and has just, as he said to me earlier, transformed his life. To be introduced and to have the opportunity to speak on this platform that Michael's created, he and his team and his wife, on behalf of our community and our company and our opportunity, is an honor. And I mean that literally, you guys and girls. It's amazing what he's been able to do and who he is. And honestly, if you ever find yourself in a position where you're not sure, if you reach out to Michael, he will lift you up. He's inspiring. He's grateful. He's excitable. And he's an amazing individual for how young he is and how where he came from when he started with this opportunity. So So you're in really good hands today, and I hope that if you don't take notes for yourself, take them for someone you can pass them on to. You're all in the business of community and sharing, and the people business, like Michael said. So we've got some things to share with you, but most importantly, I can't relate this more to being on an airplane, and when their cabin pressure is lost and the oxygen's mass drop, it's critical that you help yourself first. And you're doing that by being on this call today, but there's a purpose behind it. It's beyond the transaction, right? The purpose is that you're able to pass this information on. You're able to create something for yourselves and your family so that you can then have the freedom, whatever that looks like to you, to be able to, I don't know if help others is the right word, but give back in whatever way it is that you see giving back, what that looks like, right? And we all want to do it because we're humans and we have that human nature, but it is very difficult in the world we live in today, because we are in a desperate situation. It's just the way that it is, and it's not a bad thing because we live in capitalism and we're able to help ourselves. Literally, we can grab the mask, put it on, and breathe, and then we can. But we have to know how, and that's why we're here. So we're going to talk real estate. This is an interactive call. Most of you are not off camera. That's fine. If you choose to be off camera, that's great. It's even better to show your face and to view each other as if we were in a two-dimensional room. However, if not, use the chat or come off mute. And if you have a question or a thought, or I want to learn, I want to know what you want to know. So I have information that I'm going to share with you, and I'm probably going to go on tangents, but and Michael and I will kind of banter, if you will. But this is really the next hour or so is for you guys, and then we've got some trainers, including Michael, to wrap it all up. But if there's something you want to know, I want to know what you want to know. So let me know what you want to know. All right.
To clarify that we are not tax attorneys, we're not financial planners or advisors. So what we're sharing with you is not coming from that standpoint. Okay. This is just from our own personal experience, what we see in the market, what we're taking action on, how we're structuring our deals, our life, our business, and how it's working for us. Everyone here is still going to go find competent legal advice for the deals that they're working on. When I say legal, competent legal advice means not every lawyer is created equally. There are some really dumb, inexperienced lawyers that should not be on your team. So you got to get competent legal advice. And maybe we can start on that topic, Bill. What's it been like working with real estate attorneys and setting yourself up legally to do deals so that you're not, risking the entire net worth every time you do a deal?
So we'll take this, a great question. We'll take this as, and this will apply to people that are already doing real estate, have an entity, whatever it is, already have a lawyer. You've spoken with a lawyer before, you've worked with a lawyer or a tax accountant. Like Michael said, we're going to structure a little bit first, and then, but this is, he's exactly right. I am definitely not an attorney. I have a lot of experience, unfortunately, with attorneys, all different kinds of attorneys. But I will tell you that so one of the things that you want to know is understand that we do need professionals. There will come a time when we need these professionals, and it's going to be up to your risk tolerance as to and your risk adverse ability, what it is that what you're willing to risk, and what you're willing to take on your own. If I was, if you were paying me tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to coach you, I would absolutely employ you. In fact, I would force you, if you will, to set up your structure first, to put in find people, surround yourself with people, and find people that are going to do things for you that you're not good at. You're gonna source out your weaknesses, right? However, we all don't have the money for that, right? So then I would say, well, raise the money. This is a business. This is a business, and when you start a business, right? My wife is actually starting a franchise per se, and the interesting thing is that there's costs involved that are hidden, that are obvious. What's the cost of the franchise? What's the cost of the rent? Those are pretty simple, right? You know that those things, but there's all these other carrying costs and things that are going to come up, marketing costs that are hidden, unexpected expenses, and then how well do you? So you don't just start the business with the bare minimum. You start the business with a plethora, with exaggerated amounts of money. So typically, I would say we're going to raise money to make yourself successful, right? We're going to go out and make money to be successful, or not make money. We're going to raise money so that you can set yourself up with the best, with an opportunity to start sharing discussions with an attorney and being able to afford them. Okay. But that being said, it's not necessarily realistic. It should be done, but we have to be practical. So therefore, I'm going to tell you that when I started, I wasn't concerned with tax and lawyers, right? I didn't have the money. I was concerned with making money. I was going to deal with everything else as it came, right? I had the risk tolerance to do it. And to be honest, I had blinders on. I was only focused on making money and getting out of the debt situation and the critical financial situation that I was in. I was also 38, unmarried, and no kids. Okay, so there's a difference. I had no one to be responsible for but myself. The other thing is I knew that I had resources, and I had not my own personal resources, but I had friendships and I had relationships that if I sunk to the bottom of someone would pull me up. I could find a place to go live, and I would not be homeless. So you have to assess your own personal situation and those that are around you and that are important to you. And this goes for not just newbies. This is for yourself as well, because it's almost like you can restart anytime you want. You can reset. It's 2025, it's brand new year, and you can look forward to the future and decide. You can make decisions now and then you will assess that decision and be like, okay, well, how do I make that decision come true, right? So you can decide that, okay, I don't want to be this all out of control anymore. I don't want to have this much risk. I don't want to be this chaotic. I don't want to be playing catch up all the time, be behind the eight ball all the time. I want to be ahead of things. So then we look to an attorney and a tax accountant. So when Michael said, what is your experience with lawyers? My experience with lawyers is this. One is that I like the idea of knowing that I have some lawyers to go to, right? Which means even when I don't need them, I research them. I will at least ask for referrals, right? And so, for example, I had an opportunity to go to, this is early on, I had an opportunity to go to I went to Michigan State, and Michigan State made it to this Final Eight, and it was here in Arizona, and I was able to go, and I had a chance to go to this booth through a networking event, and it was a skybox, and I'm like, I'm going, and it was put on by these lawyers, Kutak Rock. So I spent a lot of the time not watching the game, but talking to some of the partners at Kutak Rock, and they became one of my attorneys. And so I got to experience, I didn't need them at the time, but sure enough, I got sued for the first time a little while later, and that attorney, that company took on my case and saved me significantly. I still ended up having to pay, believe it or not, on a case that I was not wrong on. It's pretty incredible. It's a whole nother story. So another thing I did is I was opened up to the opportunity to learn about a tax attorney. This tax attorney was a real estate investor, was a real estate attorney, and a real estate agent, and a tax accountant. Not a real estate agent, but so this particular attorney was introduced to me and had a lot of experience in real estate and was also very specific to business owners and real estate investors. And I didn't even know that I needed an accountant because I had pretty much done my own taxes forever. I was behind on taxes, but my taxes were never accounted. When I owned Play It Again Sports franchises, I had 4 of them. We had an accountant. They took care of everything, and I knew nothing. I knew nothing about it. I realized that was very detrimental because I remember one time when the business was failing and I knew it. I bought out my partners. We were sinking, and yet, I mean, I was still making the same amount of money. I was making pretty good money. And I remember going to the accountant, and I sat in her office and I said, listen, I need to know where we stand. You know, what's the deal? I mean, typically we're taking this monthly salary. It was over 5 figures. And a month. And I went in there and I said, should I take the salary or should I cut it in half? Where do I need to be? And she's like, well, you have bills to pay, right? You need to take care of your obligations. You want to live. I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, then you should take the money. So that said to me that we are okay. Like, it's not as bad as I thought we were doing. Now, she was completely wrong. I literally, we should have assessed our situation, cut back, ate rice and beans, and solved the problem. Less than 6 months later, I'm shutting down one of my stores and had to pay somebody $18,000 to buy another store, right? I'm literally going bankrupt. So this accountant was interactive, right? I started to plan ahead a little bit. I started to look to when I did need that accountant. And I went slowly. Like, I didn't have any money, right? I didn't have money for the first 5 years that I was in real estate, even though I was making multiple 6 figures a year. I was trying to dig out of debt. Okay, so let's move forward. Let's get back to, remember, if you have something that's important to you, a question. So the most important thing is that the only reason, again, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a CPA, I'm not a tax attorney, I'm not any of those things. I'm not a financial planner, but I do understand that when we do real estate, there is risk involved. And the only risk that you're taking as a sole proprietor that you would need an LLC for protection for is you just want to protect your personal assets. If something happens in a transaction where someone is injured or there is some sort of fraud, then you'd want to, it's not even about borrowing money necessarily, right? That's a conversation we're gonna have in a minute, but it's about being sued and then them being able to take your personal assets if they win the case. And the lawsuit is for enough money that it's not covered by your insurance or something like that. So what I've found is if you're doing wholesaling or you are simply transactional and you're being paid as a broker or an agent, or not really a real estate agent, but some sort of acquisitions or dispositions person in a wholesaling game, and you're really not ever owning property and fix and flipping it, and it's not in your name, there's no need for the LLC. The LLC is there to protect your personal assets. As you start to venture into real estate transactions, including holding property, then you have someone else living in a building or working in a building that you own. And therefore something can happen that's unforeseen by you. And this is real, this is fundamental, as you know, but it's very easy to establish an LLC in almost every state. I have not done it in every state, but I have done it in multiple states, many states, for friends and clients of mine. And in that case, it's very easy to do it on your own. If you prefer to pay somebody to do it, then absolutely do it. I think that it's a game changer in your mindset. So even though you may not need one right away, it's nice to have one. It's the very first thing I did was establish my LLC. I liked it. I did it on my own. I'll tell you, when I deal with the IRS and I deal with the in our case in Arizona, that's Corporation Committee, in a lot of Arizona Corporation Commission, but a lot of states use the Secretary of State to set up entities. Whatever entity in that state government that you're working with, when you call them and wait on hold for a little while and you get with them, they love nice people, right? This goes to negotiations. They absolutely love to hear people that are interested in what they know. And all of us want to show people we're smart. All of us want to be able to share things that we know. So they're the expert, and I let them be the expert. Even though I might know more than they do, I'm asking them to help me, and I want them to get me there as fast as possible. And I don't want to have to pay an attorney. I don't want to have to do it. I want to be able to do it myself and learn. Maybe later on I'll pay an attorney when I have the money, or when I have too many, I don't have time, whatever the case is. But when I was starting out, even when I wasn't starting out, when I talk to them, I just ask questions. I want them to share the information. So I'll tell them, what do I need? What is a statutory agent? Why do I need it? Do I need a statutory? No, you actually don't need to have that. That's only if you want, right? So they walk me through the process. Back then, when I first did my first LLC, I had to literally drive it down. I'm like, where's the building? Who do I give it to? How much is it? Right? So I didn't have to figure anything out myself. So you just have to have the patience and the wherewithal to want to go ahead and talk to these folks. And it's interesting in any type of negotiation. It is fun to play dumb. It is fun to let the other people speak, to let the other person share with what you want. They'll show you their cards by you asking questions, and then you can take advantage. For lack of a better term, you're not gonna hurt them necessarily in the negotiation, but you can definitely get what you want out of the negotiation by listening first and talking later, if that makes sense. So my give and take when I talk to other people that I want to get information from is to flatter them, to tell them that I don't really understand this. Could you explain it? To allow them to share with me their knowledge, and to allow them to tell me what I don't know, even though I may know it, if that makes sense. I hope that that I'm telling you, that has gotten me so far in almost any negotiation that I have, is to play dumb and to allow them to be the expert. Okay. So you'll want to set up the LLC. Here's the thing about tax and legal, like, and again, I only know what I needed to do, and it's very simple. I set up an LLC, and that was my operating entity. After that, until I started buying and holding property, I didn't have another LLC. I was making enough money in my first year and my second year in real estate after joining this group. If you're not a part of this group, please get back to the person that brought you here. And I'm going to get to this in a minute, but it's imperative that, we'll get to that. So, I was making enough money in real estate after joining this group and in my business that I was able to, I needed to set up my LLC as an S Corp. The only reason I set up my LLC as an S Corp, and all it is an S selection. I will tell you, you can do this yourself, but but now it's probably about $150 to pay an accountant to do it for you. And you just do it once and it's done. But if you're making over 50 grand, plus or minus, then you want to eliminate self-employment tax. That's 13.5%, 13.2% of your income. You make 100 grand, you can save yourself $13,000 on tax liability by being self-employed, by saving self-employment tax by being taxed as an S corporation. The only drawback is, it's not even a drawback, is you end up taking a salary on a third of it, usually a third to half, depending on your accountant and your situation and how much money you're making. And if you have a W-2 or not. If you have a W-2, you can take a salary on less. And anyway, I can get into the details if you have questions on it. But that's the only two things you need to worry about, is an LLC for an operating entity. And everything I did was owned. When I wholesaled property, when I bought property, when I flipped property, when I did a business transaction, when I borrowed money, everything I did was under Creative Solutions Investments LLC. I never, ever did it in my personal name ever again. I didn't own property again. I can't say I didn't. I've done loans in my name and then immediately transferred the title into a different LLC when I've completed the transaction. Sometimes there's lenders who won't lend to an LLC, so you have to take title as your personal name and then you just transfer it. I'll get into that if you need me to. Really, what we're trying to do here is I don't have as much time as I would love to have. Michael's got some stuff we're going to talk about. I've got a good hour left here, or pretty close. I've got an event at 10 o'clock on Saturday, so I'm on Mountain Time, and so the goal here is obviously to share with you some things that are going to help you move forward. But most importantly, as importantly, is that if you're either new or experienced, is that we're able to share this information with others so that we can, and it's important that we get some information here today that you can utilize. That might be new information that I don't always talk about if you've heard me talk before, or that you haven't heard in different things. So one of those things is this. And again, I don't mean to jump around, but they're setting some stages here a little bit just so we can get into the nuts and bolts. But I truly believe that, in fact, I know it to be true from experience. There was a time when I had to give up the fact that I was a know-it-all, right? I still believe that I am. I still act as if I am. It still costs me dearly when I act that way, and I actually do things and do business that way, right? It's not, I don't recommend it. But there became a time in 2008 when I had to give up the fact that I was trying to do it on my own, that I was trying to do it the cheap way, that I was trying to do it the way that I could afford to do it. And that was get into real estate and do $100,000 to multiple $100,000 transactions, whether I'm wholesaling or not, whether I'm fix and flipping or buying and holding, or trying to get myself in between a deal and make a fee, whatever it is you're trying to do in real estate, where I had to stop trying to learn on my own, and I had to have someone teach me. I needed mentors. I needed education. I needed people to teach me. I needed to learn from others' experiences. I needed to get on calls like this. I realized that everything I was doing, it's not that it doesn't work. It's that it takes a lot of time, and that I didn't even know what I didn't know in order to figure out what I needed to do. Even though I'd read information, learn information, there's so much information on the web. You guys know this. AI, everything is at your fingertips. But unless you understand what's at your fingertips, it doesn't make any sense. Like, you're taking a chance on what you're choosing to believe and act upon. So in my opinion, no matter what it is, and there is nothing better than where we are right now, no matter who you're talking to, whether you're a part of this group in one way or another, at the lowest level as an ICM or a guest or whatever it is imperative that you join this group, and that you figure out a way to have a resource. And in my opinion, one resource. And this goes for anybody you're talking to. It doesn't mean if someone comes to advice and you're getting some things done, you're making some moves in your business, in your world. Tamara, for example, phenomenal investor and businesswoman, and someone comes to her and says, it's not that she's not going to teach them what she knows and give them advice and be forthcoming and give back. But at the same time, that doesn't work for always. It's going to work in that scenario right away, but she needs to employ to them that, listen, this, although I'm going to help you and I'm going to give you advice right now, like I'm doing for the next 90 minutes rather, you need this information all of the time. You need to have a resource that you can trust, that you can believe in, that you can count on, and that you know is vetted, and we've done that here. Like, you can automatically trust me just based on the fact that I'm put in this position, that I have consequences if I lie to you and tell you something that's not true. Okay, I'm going to answer this question first because I love this interaction stuff. Okay, hello, do you have an LLC per property, or how do you group your properties? That's a great question. So I was advised one time in my life that I should, after every $250,000 of net worth, of equity in a property or multiple properties into one LLC, to divide them. Now, I don't always live by that rule. I think I have more equity in properties on an LLC than I should, which means I haven't taken the time to get my shit in order, which I don't advise. Again, I'm risk tolerance. I have a high risk tolerance. I am lazy in that regard, or I procrastinate on things that are a pain in my butt. It's simple to do, but I don't want to pay someone to do it. And yet I know how to do it. So I'm going to do it myself, and I haven't done it. Right. So it's actually on my list for 2025 to reevaluate my equity in my properties and I got to add 2 new LLCs. So the answer to your question is I would do an LLC, not for every property, but for every time you start to gain another property and you're already at $250,000 at least. So if you go up to $300,000, $400,000 of equity in 2 or 3 properties owned by one LLC, that's fine. One of the ways that I offset all that and help my procrastination is I have significant insurance. I have a $500,000 liability policy for every property I own. So if I have 3 properties in an LLC for example, then I already have $1,500,000 on each one. And then I do $1 million umbrella for that LLC. And I have a $5 million umbrella for Creative Solutions, my company. So I offset it with insurance. I advise paying for insurance. Somehow, some way, the insurance takes it out of your account. It's impounded on your mortgages, whatever it is, and you need to pay the insurance. If you have no money in the world, pay your insurance. Get your health insurance straight away. One of the very first things I ever did was get an HSA. Even though I didn't have enough money to contribute to the damn HSA, it just sat there. I had a really good policy that came with the HSA. So I had insurance, even though I have no job, right? I have to pay for it myself. I will tell you, since I got the HSA in 2012, it has quadrupled in price. The amount that I pay for that health insurance premium every month is astronomical. I haven't taken the time to research it, but so I have an LLC for, I have one called BSRE Holdings. Bill and Sherry is what BS stands for. I love it. I have a company called BS Investments, which I love. It's a separate operating entity that I use. But I also have BS Retirement Holdings. So I have some self-directed retirement accounts that hold some property. And then I have a place, the very first rental we had was Sleepy Ranch Road. So I named it Sleepy Ranch LLC. But that LLC owns 2 different properties that have like $400,000 of equity in them. So it's more than what they recommend, but it's okay if that makes sense. So you should be okay there. So that's my recommendation. It's a pain in the ass to get it, especially like in California. LLCs are $1,000 a year, right? In Arizona, you pay a minimum fee. I expedite it. I pay an extra fee to expedite the LLC, and it's forever, and it's in good standing as long as you're in good standing and all that kind of stuff, and you don't have to renew it every year. So it depends on your states how many LLCs you want to be paying for all the time. You can have a foreign LLC, right? You can get a Nevada LLC or an Arizona LLC, but you just have to register it in the state of California so that they pay the tax. So umbrella policies, you can get them from your homeowner's insurance, typically like Farmers. I have a very good insurance broker that I use. She brokers typically everything, but companies like Foremost, Safeco, Travelers, what's the other one? American Modern. And then these are American Modern, Foremost, Travelers. These are my fix and flip and hard money insurance policies right away. She can get it done in a day, pay a little bit of premium at the closing, and then you pay monthly. And then they go into long-term. You can turn it right into long-term. These are great. So she brokers all this, but then it's really easy to get a policy once you have these policies, like your homeowners policies, to get an umbrella, and they're cheap. Like I think it's like $450 for me for per year for a $5 million umbrella. The first million's like 320, but once you go up higher, it costs more, but it's not exponentially more. It's actually less if you get more millions. but you don't need 5 million if you're not doing what I'm doing yet. But anyway, it doesn't hurt. So typically, if you think about it, if you're going to get sued, there's a little tangent here, but if somebody falls off a ladder on your fix and flip and they get hurt, and you're not at fault, right? They're going to sue you, and they're going to find out who the company is, and then the lawyer's going to tell them it's a hard win and all this stuff, and it's going to be a battle, and you know it's going to cost money and blah 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 blah, and they're not going to take the case unless I have insurance. They're going to look at the thing and they're going to go, oh, he's got insurance, and they're typically only going to sue for what the average person falling off the ladder gets for, up to the amount of the insurance that I have. So the insurance is going to settle with them on the average of what it fell off, and I'm not even going to have to be involved. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I'll get an attorney when I get the complaint, and that's it. And then the insurance will be contacted and the insurance will deal with it because I have liability insurance. But if you don't have liability insurance and they fall off the ladder, they're going to look to break the corporate veil. I mean, immediately, if you don't have an LLC owning the property, they're going to go right after all your personal assets. But if your company is an LLC that owns something, and you're operating, like you're doing a fix and flip in an operating entity that doesn't own anything, right? And then all of a sudden you own a property in the LLC because you never took it out of the policy, out of the LLC when you bought it and created a new holding LLC, then they might go after the insurance and the other property. And they're like, oh my God, this guy's got some assets in this LLC. Let's sue for all of it and see what we can get, right? So that's the whole point of having an LLC and then if it's something major, you know what I mean? Like, if you were held responsible because there was some sort of proof that you weren't taking care of a dangerous situation on your property, and someone literally got hurt because of that, right? And then there's a witness that said, yeah, you know, we all told him the ladder was broken and you never bought a new one, whatever it is. So whatever the example, it was icy or whatever the heck it is. And then they, and then the judge, you know, and it comes down to the point where they hold you negligible. Then it's important that you have this umbrella policy so you can pay out even more insurance than just your only $500,000, and you don't have to be held responsible as a company where you have to bankrupt the company or as a person, right? So that's important. If you have this extra insurance, then the lawyers already know they can win the case. They can get paid themselves a third or 40% of the take, and they can get their client a win because the insurances are going to pay. But you won't lose your ass. You won't lose your company. You won't lose your business. You won't lose your house. Not your own personal house, but even your fix and flip house or whatever. In theory, for the most part, unless you're totally negligible, like you're literally doing something fraudulent or dangerous. You know what I mean? But if you're held not like negligent, but accidental and negligent, that's when that umbrella policy. You know, it's not like you put the broken ladder there and tried to kill somebody, but you were just negligent in the fact that you really didn't provide. But normally the ladders aren't yours. That's just a bad example. But you know what I mean? If there was something that you could have done to prevent the accident and you didn't, you're just accidentally negligent. Okay, moving forward. Let's go. So. One of the things that I want you to be aware of, okay, that's important, is your mindset around money. I don't know what it is. I hope it's not as poor as mine. Mine was, I don't care about money. I can always make more money. And I don't value the dollar as much as I should. What I mean by that is that, I don't protect it. I risk it too much, but there has to be an understanding where I think a lot of people fall to the other side, is that money is the almighty, right? Money is a tool that's going to get you to what you want to do when it comes to what we're doing. So if we want to become wealthy and we want to become financially free and we want to help others and we need finances to help others, right? If we don't want to give up our time to help other people, if you want to just quit all this right now, go ahead and donate your time. Your time's the most valuable damn resource you ever have. We all know that. Right? So just go down to a soup kitchen, do whatever it is, and spend all of your time, right, taking care of your children, not making any money, being broke, not having a retirement, working the rest of your life, volunteering, and go do that, right? But if you don't want to do that, that's not your choice. You want to live a life of luxury. You want to have things. You want to provide for your family. You want to leave a legacy. Whatever it is that you want to do, whatever is important to you financially and or materialistically, whatever it is, and you want to live comfortably, whatever you want to take advantage of the capitalist system, whatever it is, but yet you still are a good human. Then you have to make money. Right? And you have to create assets and you have to create income when you're not working so that you can go spend your time and enjoy it. And you could be doing charitable events and putting on charitable events, and you can be going to galas and, giving, toys to children and all these good things and saving animals and still be having a good life, right? Not that that's not a good life, but you're not living on the streets. So for that to happen, we have to think about money and what it as a tool, right? And we have to understand that $20, $50, $100,000 is very little money. We are talking about real estate. We're not talking about $12,000 little homes in some rural Midwestern city. We are talking about properties in major markets that are going to appreciate, that are going to rent out for more than the mortgage, and are going to grow in value over time, that are going to depreciate in value over time, so you can deduct them on your taxes, that are going to bring you in income, right? And that you can leverage, that banks are going to want to lend on. They're not going to want to lend on a property that has no stove, nobody can live in it, and it's got a hole in the wall, okay? They're going to want to lend on assets that are valuable, that are of value, that are going to hold value. They're going to lend you money. And so then we can leverage them. Once we leverage, it means that we can buy things we can't afford. Okay, that's the other mentality we've got to think of. We've got to be able to buy things we can't afford. So the first thing is education and mentorship and community and people we surround ourselves with. It's this right here. When I had $0, this could probably be the most critical thing I say today. When I have $0, I'm 38 years old. I have zero retirement. My car was repossessed 3 days before my wedding. It was a sports car taken right out of my garage when 13 people are living in a house I couldn't afford, right? That I had just leveraged with 3 mortgages and bought it in 2007 and convinced my girlfriend at the time that her credit was good enough to buy this house 100% financing and put in a pool 100% financing with like a $3,000 deposit that she put on a credit card. And I had no retirement. I had zero credit. My credit was in the toilet because I had to file bankruptcy on Play It Against Sports, personal bankruptcy. That's another story that I just went through on ignorance on not understanding bankruptcy, not understanding an LLC, not understanding debt and credit and how people, I was not collectible. There wasn't a single debtor that was going to come after me. And yet I took the advice of what? A bankruptcy attorney, because how do they get paid? By filing bankruptcies. So I took the advice of a bankruptcy attorney and filed bankruptcy when I never should have. So I'm bankrupt. My credit's in the toilet, no retirement, no income, right? I have no money. I have no assets, no car, no house, right? And I have and I had a degree I hadn't used in what would be 18 years. And there I was with no money. And I sit in front of a guy who showed me an opportunity to learn how to do real estate the right way, right? I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, great book. I don't know how to read. I read it in 3 days, right? I'm like, this is the greatest book ever. I'm going to buy assets. And I go out and I use my girlfriend's credit, who became my wife, to go buy this house in 2007, thinking that I was going to sell the house in 2 years. And it was okay to negatively cash flow her property, which was Sleepy Ranch Road, which we could have lived in comfortably. But I decided to go on this tangent, on this, real estate endeavor, and, got my real estate license and was a loan officer and thought I knew what I was doing. I was doing it all on my own. And I go buy this house, a year later, we bought it for $500,000, 100% financing, and it's worth $190,000. Houses are short selling all over the place. The crash. And I can't blame the crash. It was totally my fault. We could have just lived in her house and had so much money in credit. We could have bought all kinds of properties after the crash, right? But instead, I didn't know what I didn't know, right? I didn't know what I was doing. So I have absolutely nothing. The only thing I had was time to go work, and I was resourceful. So I decided that $25,000 to invest in my education and learn to not make these mistakes again was worth it to me. But at the time, I didn't have 25 cents, right? I was stealing gas money from my wife, basically, to go to the meetings, right? To go down and network. right? I couldn't buy coffee or beers afterwards because I had no money, but I wanted to go network and I wanted to learn. I wanted to surround myself with somebody who knew what the hell they were doing because I didn't know what I was doing, right? Clearly, what I had tried to do from reading books and studying on my own didn't get me where. So my point is you've got to understand, and it's not you, it's your family members, it's your relatives, your partners, that money is only a tool. That no business starts by just having a bunch of money. If you ever watch the Domino's commercial and the lady's like, they had these people and they're like, oh, I put my entire life savings into this Domino's. Thank God I did it. Right? People leverage. They don't have a bunch of money and buy a Domino's franchise. I'm betting a Domino's franchise is like $1 million. I don't know. Someone can Google it. They leverage. They put down some money. They put up their left leg, right? They get an SBA loan that takes 6 years to get, right? They go through all these hoops and then they borrow money. And that's how they start their business. And they have reserves, right? And every bank and every commercial lender and every SBA lender is like, you got to have these reserves. Because they know you're going to freaking fail. They know it, right? But we don't ever think we're going to fail. We need to borrow money to get started. Borrow money, but not to go buy a house. Borrow money to know how to buy a house, right? Then borrowing money for a house is easy, right? It's interesting to me because like I have a partner in Colorado and we lend each other $25,000, $40,000, $50,000 on a whim. Hey, dude, I got to make payroll this month. I got a deal job coming in. I just bid this job. I probably shouldn't have bid, but I got to put 50 G's down on these lightings. You got 50 grand for me? Yeah, let me wire it over. Cool, I'll lend it. I'll get it back to you in 2 weeks. It's not $5, 500, right? It's 50 grand, right? So the numbers that we're playing with, when we're buying houses, there's no house in Arizona that I'm going to want to buy for less than $400,000. Right? Or I don't know, 300,000, right? So I have to have 60 grand just to get in the game, let alone the fix up, carrying costs, and all those other things. So folks, $25,000 to become a part of a forever group, a lifetime access to a group that can elevate you on 90 different classes and 500 hours of education on every possible business strategy, personal development strategy, and real estate strategy in the United States is a draw. It's nothing. It's like $25. Like if you lose, you can never lose the money because it's always there. You could go through cancer and come back and go study your education because it's lifetime access. There's zero risk to those funds. So it is imperative that you make a decision that you are going to leverage everything you can. One of the things you're going to leverage is your knowledge. When you have the knowledge, right? Remember, in 2009, I didn't have anything more than I had in 2008. In 2008, I did 13 short sales successful training. I worked on like 100. I only closed 13%. It was less than that, maybe 11%. Fortunately, between that and the marketing, I made 190 grand in my first year, right? But I had no money. I owed more than that already. So we spent all of that money before I even made it, right? And so there was no assets. I didn't have any. We still hadn't even bought furniture for this stupid big house that we bought, right? We were still paying on 3 mortgages, plus the new car, plus all the credit cards that went from 0% to 30% because of the crash and it was a long story too. So I'm paying like $10,000 in interest on credit cards on 100 grand in debt. And so we had no money, right? So in 2009, when they changed the short sale law and you couldn't do third-party transactions, I had to learn to fix and flip. So fortunately, I had extra education. I could go in, learn how to borrow money, learn how to do fix and flip, learn the math, right? And so I got to get into some more stuff. My point is that once you gain the knowledge, you can then borrow money. I borrowed hundreds. Actually, I borrowed, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of $2 million in my first year to do, it might have even been more, not including the hard money or the private long-term money or bank money. I'm talking about private money
to pay for my business, to pay me, to pay for houses, to pay for the down payments, and to pay the carrying costs and pay for fix-up costs, right? And I had nothing. I had no assets, no money, no car. I was driving my wife's beat up Bondoed Jetta, right? And I still was able to borrow millions of dollars, right? And it was because I could leverage my knowledge and my time. I knew what to do and how to do it. And I had the ability to do it. So we need to be in a mindset. You have to decide whether or not you, and I'm not saying be risky. So what I'm saying is, it is important that you decide, and this is again for you and your family. We don't do it without collateral. We don't do it without the right tools and the right understanding of how we borrow money, but we learn to borrow money. We learn to borrow the right way. Most people don't, right? If you think about the reality of borrowing money, this is it. Nobody is educated on borrowing money. We get out of high school and we go to college. The first thing we're told is that we need to get a student loan. Nobody studies a student loan. There's nothing wrong with a student loan. What's wrong with a student loan is how we pay the money back. Every wealthy person on the planet leverages. They borrow money. They borrow people. They borrow people's knowledge. They pay for people's knowledge. They borrow people's time. They borrow everything and anything from other people that they don't have. However, they pay it back on their terms. They decide how they're going to pay back their loans, when they're going to pay them back, how fast they're going to pay them back, how much they're going to pay them back each month, not the other way around, because they're educated on borrowing money and re-leveraging, refinancing. They're not refinancing money over right away if there's payment penalties, right? They're figuring all these things out. So they understand how to borrow money and how money works. The rest of us go, the 99% of us get out of high school. We're told we go to get a college degree and we borrow the money and then we pay it back over time based on how the bank wants us to pay it back because we don't know any better. The same thing on a car loan, the same thing on our first house loan, the same thing on any type of loan, even with our friends. When we borrow money from our parents, they dictate. If it's love money, they're like, I want you to pay this back. You're going to write a little note and you're going to give it. Okay, just give me this money back when you have it. I want you to be safe. I don't want you to worry about this money for right now. The parents are telling us how to borrow money from them. Instead of us going to our parents and being like, I've got this plan. This is how I'm going to pay you back. This is how much you're going to make. This is how much interest you're going to make. This is going to be the best loan you ever gave me in your life. But if we don't know how to present that piece of paper to our parents, we're begging our parents to tell us how to pay us, how much they're going to give us and when. And what's going to be the repercussions, how bad we're going to feel when we don't pay it back. That's who's going to decide how we borrow money, which is the better way to do it. Okay, so when you have the knowledge that we teach here, we have like 7 classes on how to borrow money. And then every single instructor that's teaching us how to do real estate is telling us how they borrow, just like I'm telling you how I borrow money. Like, right? When I borrow money to do a deal, I pay myself up front on the deal. Now, you can't just fabricate it. You can't just make it out of the blue. The deal has to be good. When we talk about deal structure, the math has to work. But why do a deal that you're not going to get paid on? And if you screw the thing up 6 months down the road and you were counting on getting paid 6 months later, you've just worked for free. Buy a deal that's going to pay you all along the way or whatever. I'm not saying every deal you're making $10,000 a month. Don't get me wrong. You can't do that. You will get in trouble, but I'll get to that in a minute. So understanding that 25 grand is like 25 bucks, that whatever business you're going to start, when you start an LLC and you start a business and you need to market and you need to put in advertisement and you need to drive for dollars, and you need to have software and you need to have education and you need to have travel to nationals or regionals or borrow the freaking money. Like set yourself up to win. Borrow the money, leverage it, and leverage your knowledge and pay them back over time with your success. That's what banks do. They don't lend people money. Why do they lend people money on a franchise? Is because franchises are proven entities. They're proven to work. SBA loans, they don't want you to pay the SBA loan back. The SBA, the more business money they can lend out to the world of America, the more people are going to be put to work. The more W-2 employees are going to go, the more taxes they're going to get, the more the more insurance that's going to get bought. It's growth. So they're going to lend one person money to get money from 30 other people. They don't want you to pay off the SBA loan, right? They want you to, but they're going to bet the deal. They're going to lend you money to be successful. That's what you're going to do. You're going to borrow money to be successful. You're going to borrow money to have reserves. If you're not getting paid, right? If all you're doing is losing money in your business, why would you ever go to work? You might as well go get a job. So the same thing goes for your own business. You want to set yourself up to win. So my point is that we have to understand that it's okay to defer payments later on, to learn how to borrow money. So and when we're talking about real estate and business, we're not talking about 20 or 30. Why would we buy a business for $20,000 if it's going to make us 20 grand? You know what I'm saying? Like we're trying to make money so that we can live comfortably and then we can give back, right? So we can't give back with a $20,000 a year salary. That's why we look to real estate. We look to real estate because we can make big gains, we can save big on taxes, and we can accumulate assets over time, right? That we don't have to work on. Once we get the work done in the beginning, they bring in money over time. Like if all of us just had $1 million, we could really go buy a 6% annuity or whatever it is, or put it in the stock market at 6 or 8%, and you could make what, 80 grand a year. Write off a little bit on tax, and you're taking home $60,000 a year, and you never have to work again. If you just had $1 million cash, if you wanted to live at that level. So we want to try to create that through real estate because we can leverage it. We only have to have a small percentage. When we talk about structuring a deal right now with creative financing and things like that, we don't even need any money if you really think about it. We could almost do the deals with no money, or at the very least, we could do the deals with no money of our own. All right. So real quick, my cap. And I've got about 15, 20, 30 minutes left, max. I got to get ready and go. But Michael can give you my information. The people that invited you here can get you information to get a hold of us, and we can do this again. But in the meantime, number one is, even if you're not doing any real estate, set up an LLC. If you can, try to do the first one on your own. I shouldn't advise you to do that. Get it. I coached a client. I used to coach people. I coached these two women, and they had the money. They made good livings. Their husbands made good livings. So they were like, I'm paying an attorney $800. I'm doing my LLC. I don't want to do it. So be it. I could have done it for free. You know what I mean? I would do it for the cost of whatever it cost. So in Arizona, nowadays it's a little bit more. It's like $180 if you expedite it, but it's only like $85 if you just wait the 3 weeks or month to get your LLC. But get an LLC started. It's fun to make up the name. It's fun to check up on the corporation commission to see if it's taken, and then you can verify the name, and so you can get your own name, and then it's good to have one. That's your new operating entity. You've already declared yourself a sole proprietor, so technically you can have 3 years to go without making any money. And you can now have a business, and you can go 3 years and write off deductions against your W-2 and not have to make any money. But you're going to be you get a part of our community, you're going to be making money before that. Okay. Number two is we got to set our mindset, and just so you know, a little tangent, and I know you know this, but you guys, you can start a business with or without an LLC. It could be Jen Benson's real estate company. Boom, there it is. That's her name. That's her company. And she's got a real estate business. She's already on a real estate call right now. She can start to write off part of her computer depending on how much she uses it at home and how much she uses it as business, right? She has a W-2 job. I don't know that for a fact. I'm just hypothetically. Jen also has 2 kids. Jen's W-2 is 100 grand a year, 80 grand a year. It's fairly decent income. So she's taxed 25 to 40, 35%. No write-offs. Now she has a little bit of a write-off, but she decided to start a business in real estate, and she, needs to file some paperwork. She needs to start to get some software and get a spreadsheet, and her kids are old enough to understand computers a little bit and work around their office. So she can start to pay her children $13,500 each per year, and they can have a debit card and they can go out. Now this is tax 101, right? My point is though, is that this $27,000 could be deductible against her W-2 for the first 3 years without her ever making any money. So in theory, she would now have a full W-2 job that would have almost essentially no federal or state tax. She'd still have FICA, right? She'd still have Social Security and stuff like that coming out of her check, but she could technically give herself like a 20% to 25% raise on her check by starting a company, starting a real estate, buying into the Renata system, and paying her children. One tax deduction if she had 2 kids. All right. So number 2 is we gotta remember that money cannot be a bad thing. Money has to be a good thing. We have to learn how to borrow money and learn how to leverage and understand that it's okay. We don't want to be stupid. I don't have enough time to talk. I could teach a money class, but we don't want to be stupid about money. That's not what I'm saying. But the first thing we got to do is wrap our head around the fact that you're going to be borrowing, you're going to be in a real estate deal, and you're going to need to borrow $20,000 to get through the end of the month. And you're going to need to borrow it and pay back the person 22 grand in 30 days. Like that can't be a big deal. Okay. That's going to happen. So when it comes to borrowing couple hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy a commercial building, it's not a big deal. It's a big deal that you're doing it. It's a big deal because it's a lot of money, but it's not a big deal to have to borrow money to get ahead. You're going to have to borrow $25,000 from somewhere to buy into our system and have the support that we offer. You'll never have to invest in another real estate opportunity in your freaking life. Talk about one of the stupidest things you've ever seen when it comes to borrowing money. Okay. If I had to analyze one of the things that the number one thing when it comes to borrowing money or lending money and being ignorant is that we lend or borrow based on hypothetical, hopeful situation. We hope that it's good. Probably if it's too good to be true, it probably is. That saying is so dumb, but it's actually true. If someone is telling you and selling you on something, you need them to shut up and you need to do your own due diligence. The stupidest thing we can do is lend money or borrow money without due diligence. If you are doing a deal with somebody based on what someone else tells you, and your job is to go raise the money, and you don't do your own due diligence on the job, and then you put up the collateral, or you're the one borrowing the money and you put up your good name, you're going to lose. When we borrow money or lend money based on hope and good fortune, then that is a joke. That is stupid. That is ignorant. And it's most likely 99,999 times out of 100,000, you're going to lose. And then the other time you probably won't lose, but you're not going to win. We're not going to win the lotto. You're not going to win the lottery in real estate and business. It's unfortunate because these types of opportunities are every day. They will come across your desk regularly from wholesalers, business partners. Everybody's got a deal that's in this business. It's a small world. There's only 3% of us doing this. Nobody else has the balls to do it. Nobody else is doing it. It's 3% of the world that's doing it, of the American world. But it's a small community, and you're going to get inundated with all the people that are doing it because why? Human natures, we're lazy. We are lazy humans. We don't want to do the due diligence. We don't want to do the work. We definitely don't want to pay for the education. We definitely don't want to put in our dues and wait and spend time learning from others' experience and studying and doing any of these things. We need real estate to be as fast as yesterday. We need business to work tomorrow. We don't want to wait for us to get rich. We're already in a 40-year job. We want to be rich tomorrow. We don't want to wait 5 years. We don't want to put in our dues. We want the deal that's coming across our desk that is going to make us a bunch of money really quickly. That is if we're doing the deal or we're lending money. So we have to be careful. And I'll tell you, I've done it 1,000 times on both sides of the coin. And I don't know that there's a way around it. The only way around it is to have so much fear that you never do a deal. But if you have knowledge and you actually study the knowledge and you get on things like this and you listen to what people that have experience tell you, like I'm not talking about the funny stories that people tell when they're doing an event and they're selling you education and they are telling a story and it's really funny about a fix and flip and you love it. I'm talking about a real deal story that I tell, right? On my Tuesdays and stuff like that. Real deal stories and the way the real world works in real estate. And then what we do is when we study and we learn and we listen to other mentors and people around us like Tamara and Michael and things like that have been there, done that. And we've been burned and we've done the stupid things and lent money and borrowed money stupidly and had to pay it back. Then you can mitigate the fear. You can eliminate the fear. You can eliminate the stupidity and the ignorance by learning. And you can do this in a relatively short period of time, in less than a year or 2 years. And the thing is, and then you probably would never lose money on a deal if you did this. In the meantime, you can be still paying your children. You could be still writing off your home office and all of your education against your W-2. You don't have to quit there's no reason to quit your job tomorrow. The deal is to quit your job early in your 40s or 50s or 60s. So you're not working in your 50s, 60s, or 70s, right? The deal is to be able to retire with more than you would retire if you just kept your job. If you're lucky to keep your job and you don't get eliminated as you get older, or the dollar doesn't depreciate or whatever it is, or your 401k is never going to make you what you think, and we never go through another recession or another crash. In 2008, my dad was relatively close to retiring. He lost almost 38% of his retirement. He knew that he would have to work into his 60s and into his 70s, and he didn't mind. It was his job. He had no hobbies. He didn't play golf. He didn't want to retire anyway. But to get back to where he was, which he was able to do, believe it or not, he was able to. He worked his ass off, and he went into a much higher risk tolerance on his investment in his investing, taking money out of his check and putting it and working. I'm talking monthly with his financial planner. But he could predict that. Could you imagine if you were 60 years old and you put away $2 million and you lose 40% of 2 million, 800 grand? And this is tax-free money, right? Which means when you pull it out, it's taxed at 25% minimum. So now you're left with 1.2 million and you're going to lose 25 to 30% of that. So now you're retiring on 600, 700 grand instead of 2 million. Like and you can't predict that. Zero real estate. You know what's funny? My dad started buying real estate the last 5 years. Bought up his whole entire block. Bought a rental house. He bought a rental house in 2020. You know what it's worth today? 1.4 times what he bought it for. Bought it for less than 100 grand. It's worth like $240,000. It's a nice house, but I mean, it's a 1,200 square foot house next to his house. Anyway, let's make some sense of this in the next couple minutes. Any questions or thoughts? Okay. I talked about negotiations, tax and legal, and deal structures. Let's talk a little bit about deal structure. The number one thing that you can do is consider the risk of every type of real estate. You got to get the knowledge. You already decided today that if you don't own the Epix combo, you're going to own it today. If you're not a part of this community, you're going to join it today. You got to make a decision. Decide and do. You guys, wealthy people, me included, right? I just did my net worth. I got to tell you, I won't tell you what it is, but I started collecting property in 2014. So I've been doing it for 10 years now. I have 16 properties with over 30 doors. It's not a lot, but I buy the properties in pretty good areas. I have one property that cash flows $1,500 a month that I paid $48,000 for. Where was I going with this? So, I can't remember what I was gonna say. What was I? Okay, so this is the thing. We understand that money isn't an object anymore. That we understand that once we learn how to borrow money and lend money and partner with money, and when you have the knowledge, you're in control. You can decide in a negotiation, for example, whenever I borrow money, I'm always asking somebody what they're used to making. Most people don't know what they're used to making. I also ask people what if they know that they can make money with their credit, for example, their equity in their home, their 401k, if they understand where they can get some resources from to lend money that can double dip on it, right? Their equity is growing in their house, but they can take the equity out. When they take the equity out of their house in a HELOC or a loan and they put it to work somewhere else, it's still growing in appreciation, right? So it's double dipping. When they take 50 grand out of their 401k, they're actually paying it back with interest to themselves, and it's making 20 or 30% interest in a real estate deal with somebody or themselves, especially themselves, right? So I asked them where they know their resources are. If they knew that if somebody has credit, they've worked their ass off their whole life for, and they can lend me their credit for money, they had no idea that it's an asset that makes them no money because right now it's just sitting dormant. Right? Same thing with money in a savings account. Anyway, you guys get the point. So once we get the knowledge, we can decrease the fear of borrowing and lending money. Then we understand that we want to set ourselves up to win, and we want to set ourselves up to be successful by surrounding ourselves with, right, the lawyers and the tax accountants that we like, getting our taxes done on time, doing things the right way, but we don't have the knowledge or the time to do them. So we need to pay people. So that's part of a business. Businesses are run by utilizing other people's expertise. So if you don't have the money, we've got to set ourselves up to win. So we already decided that. We've also decided that we're going to get educated and that we're going to have resources in real estate and business that are going to help us be successful. Now we've also decided that we're going to learn how to decrease the fear of money and decrease the significance of money to where it's only a tool. And therefore, lending, borrowing 50, 60, 100,000, 200,000, $250,000 is not a big deal anymore. It's still very important. It's still a lot of money, but it doesn't have any weight to it. It's just as if we were spending 24 hours a day after our job and our kids are put to bed to go make ourselves a better person and to make more money, right? We do that all the time. We do all this extra work and spend all this extra time away from family and loved ones and everything that we love to do because we're willing to give that up, but we're not willing to devalue the dollar, right? We'll devalue our time, but not the dollar. So now we're learning how to devalue, and we decided that we're going to devalue the dollar, right? So that we can use it as a tool and not our time anymore. We don't want to use our time as a tool. We want to use somebody else's money. So the most important thing you can do is once you get the education and you're watching fix and flip and commercial buildings and wholesaling and all these things that you're learning about real estate, and that is a job. That could be a side hustle. But what's real in the world of real estate is owning property. The problem is we don't know how to own property with no assets, right? No money, no credit, not enough credit. We don't want to put our credit at risk. We've got to put college funds up and things like that. So the number one thing we can do is understand deal structure. We can understand to partner with banks, hard money lenders, private money lenders, homeowners, right? We need to learn, you guys, we've got to learn subject to. It's imperative that you learn what bankruptcy is, what short selling is, what key deed in lieu is, what deed for trust, contract for deed is. These things allow you, own or carry. I'm working on a deal right now up in Reno, Nevada. It's a commercial building with millions of dollars of airline parts in it. 15 million parts. The structure, there's a $184,000 mortgage on this old commercial building that may be worth $800,000 to $1 million with potentially $5-10 million of parts. And this guy died and the lady wants to sell it and everything. And the structure, I don't want to buy any of it. I don't want to invest in something I don't know. So I'm giving away equity to airline experts so they can go up there, fly up there. They already did, and look at the parts and see what it may or may not be worth, right? And then I'm not going to give this lady her money. I'm going to give her money over time based on my success. I'm going to pay her mortgage. I'm going to have her carry a second note that's deferred, right? I'm going to defer the down payment until I start selling off the equipment. I'm going to borrow money to transfer 3 semi-truckloads of parts down to New Mexico, where this airline guy lives, so that he can do all the work and he can spend his time. And I'm going to be the majority owner of the company if it works out, right? And I didn't even find the deal. The point is we want to learn to be able to buy deals with nothing but our knowledge and our expertise, right? We want to give away as much, or I should say as little as possible, that someone's willing to take, so that we can have what we're willing to take in a deal that we don't have to run, right? In a deal that we don't have to put all the risk up, that we don't have to take money out of our equity of our private house so we can go buy a house. Let somebody else take the money out of their private house so that they can put it up for risk. And we risk our knowledge and our time, right? And our expertise. You're the one who invested 25 grand into Renatus. You're a partner in our community. You're the one who's taking time to study. You're the one who's getting the expertise. You're the one who's getting the undeclared degree in real estate and borrowing money and private money and hard money. So put all of that to risk, right? You're not doing that for free. You're not doing that because it's a freaking hobby. You're doing it because you want to make your life better. You want to be able to give back to people. So in order for you to do all that, then people are going to have to pay you because you're an expert, regardless of your experience, including the sellers. If sellers can't sell a property and they're stuck in a world of hurt and they've made some bad decisions and they're part of the 99% and they're part of the problem, and you have a solution, then they're going to pay you for that. They're going to pay you to help them with their equity in their house. And you're going to take over their mortgage, and you're going to have them carry and defer their windfall. Otherwise, they would sell the house on the MLS, right? And if people are ignorant in the world of real estate and they're only willing to put in sweat equity, and they're trying to hustle you and get you a wholesale deal and all this other stuff, so be it. Take advantage of their ignorance and negotiate with them what you're willing to take. But do this. Understand how to underwrite a deal and understand creative financing. Understand how to borrow money, how to partner with people, how to leverage people's knowledge, right? And how to take over a mortgage, subject to how to structure a second mortgage or a third mortgage, owner financing. Understand hard money, you guys, is easy. It's easy to understand. They're going to lend you 100. You're always going to have a down payment, but they're going to lend you 100% of rehab on draws after you put money in, right? They're going to lend you 80 to 90% of the acquisition price on a fix and flip. They're going to do the same thing for a buy and hold. And then you can get a DSCR loan. If you don't know what DSCR loans, you can get them at 7.5% plus or minus. You can get them with 680 credit scores. You're just going to pay a higher interest rate. The better your credit, start working on your credit today. Start working on your entities today. Start working on your tax against your tax deductions against your W-2. These things, is 25 grand worth that? Oh my God. There's so much opportunity. We have to do this. There's no way you can use AI to figure out all this information because you don't even know what to ask them. My point is that the opportunity that we have is that we need someone to tell us, and we need to trust someone that's telling us what it is that we need to listen to, who we need to listen to, when we need to listen to them, what we need to listen to, and how we need to go, right? And then once someone tells us that and we understand and we make a decision what we want to believe and what we want to do, then we just have to have the resource to study all around it so we can implement it. And we don't have to implement it in a month or a week or 2 months. We can implement it in 3 months, 90 days. These 90-day challenges, get out and make 100 grand in six weeks. So be it. 1 out of 20, you know, the dedicated people with a bunch of time on their hands and they're going to study and they're going to take risk and all that stuff. Great. 1 out of 2 out of 20 are going to do it and they're going to make money. You're going to be like, oh, I wish that was me. But the cool thing would be the person that in 6 months or a year buys a property that's cash flowing $2,000 a month and has $100,000 or $200,000 of equity, and you are able to give yourself a 20% raise on your W-2. So you're still making a W-2, you're keeping 100% of your income. You've got a commercial property or a multifamily unit that you paid no money into, that's cash flowing you $2,000 a month, paying for your own mortgage at your house, and you're sitting on a property that's going to appreciate for the next dozen years, and you can put your kid to college on one deal. That's the person taking the money to the bank, not the guy who fixed and flipped the damn property in 90 freaking days. Screw that. That's worth nothing. That has no value. Michael, it's 20 till. I gotta go.
Gotta
Sorry.
go, man. Well, I appreciate you being here with us, and you know, your passion, your excitement, your enthusiasm for the industry, for our students, for our community, is very admirable. So thank you for your time, your commitment. I know that what you do inside of our community, right, on a weekly basis, we get 50 to 100 sessions a year with you, depending on how engaged people are. So yeah, thank you for the time this morning, folks. I hope this is starting to open your mind to what is possible, some do's and don'ts. Now we're going to keep going with it, but we're going to have to say goodbye to Bill for now. He's going to go kick some butt, take some names, and go raise some capital. And so, yeah, thank you, Bill. And we will see you next week inside of our team calls. And have a wonderful day. All right, now I have a couple charts pulled up here that we need to dissect. And so some of you latecomers, let's talk about this again real quick, then we'll go over to some other data. This, if you are not alarmed by this, if you are not pissed off by this, if you are not constantly talking to your friends, family about the info on this chart, at least to some degree, what are you talking about? Listen, when we go out there and we work our 40-hour week job, you know, when I first got into this group, I was working 2 jobs, 70 hours a week. I was working 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., 6 days a week. And then the other day I just worked an 8-hour shift. I was working every day, all the time. No fun, no savings. Every dollar I was earning was going to debt. And it was awful. And I thought it was just a temporary thing that people just had to kind of get through because you're new to the job market. You're new to the economy, right? I just finished some college. I went to a trade school, got a degree in automotive diesel technology, and I ended up working at Jiffy Lube and Sears Tire Center. What a mess. And, you know, I had a $30,000 student loan. And I thought it was just a little tool. But what I didn't understand, and man, I wish I had this community and this group of knowledge before that, because I spent $85,000 on a $30,000 student loan. When you factor in all the interest, the fees, the recapitalization of missed payments, because you know they'll let you defer, but what they'll do is they'll take the dollars you deferred, put it onto your principal, recalculate your new payment with interest, and start charging you again. You're further behind. You're further behind with your debt, and then because of inflation, now the dollars you are earning are worth less, and your debt just went up. How if you just have a job, there's no way you're going to get ahead. And it's frustrating for people, but good news is we're here for you. We're going to show you how to do real estate with a couple hours a week, because I know a lot of people are busy. We're playing the 1.5 jobs game, especially if you got kids and another hobby, and you got to go to the gym, you got to take care of the house. Time is so precious. And is there any reason why you think this trend won't continue? Why over the next 5 years we'll lose another % of purchasing power, and this is going to go up another 500%. Right? After 110 years of data, this is the thing. So get motivated to make a difference. This should be enough to tell you, hey, every increase in your credit score, increase in your dollars, you should be buying real estate. Now the question is where to buy real estate. Well, let's jump over to some other charts now. We are going to spend a minute on the Federal Reserve site and the census data. Okay, now stay with me here. There's gonna be some good stuff. Let me hide this other menu. Okay. Here we go. GM, everybody. First thing we want to look at is the average sales price of houses sold in the US. Okay, now I have, they've been tracking this thing for the last 50-something years. Look at this. Right before we got off the gold standard, houses were $25,000. Isn't that amazing? 25,000. Now they get into the fiat currency thing. We start printing money like crazy, printing. Of course, then everyone started making up what mortgages were really like, and then we had this terrible crash. But for some people that had insight, this was predictable. Now, Bill was sharing with you, this is about the time he got into real estate, and it was a big mess. But on different instructor lessons, where we have people who were in the game from 2000, and they watched this, they knew this was coming. They switched to cash. They waited a year for it to bottom out, and they cleaned up. Right down here, they picked up so many houses, wholesale opportunities, short sale opportunities. They cleaned up. Now, is it going to happen again? Maybe. I mean, so now we've zoomed into just the last 10 years here. It's going up and down, up and down. It's not a steady climb. And a lot of people, when they come in late to a cycle, they think it's just a steady climb. They get into a mindset like this here. Now, some of you have never seen this before. Some of you have studied this at great length. But this is something you got to understand about the psychology of your own mind, the psychology of the market, and where the actual opportunity is. Because if you're going off of news headlines and you're going off of water cooler banter, it is not going to work for you. You are going to get hosed. You're going to lose all your money. You're going to say real estate is terrible. You're going to be down here with, I wish I had never invested in real estate. But let's go through this real quick. Optimism, excitement, and thrill. Then we get into euphoria. This is what happened in 2006. It was going up, it was going up. And now when people are buying 4 or 5 or 6 houses on a regular income, something is up with lending. Something is up with appraisals, and it's about to pop. But the crazy thing is that most uneducated average buyers come in at this point. We are headed, the next transition here is the maximum financial risk. But the news, your friends, your neighbors, everybody's telling you it's going up, it's going up, it's so great, it's so great. Then you're left with the bag. And then you start to see prices go down and you go, wait a minute. Then you get into anxiety, denial, and then fear. And then it really just starts to drop off. Desperation. How am I going to sell this? Can I liquidate? Then we panic. And then it gets into hopelessness and regret. Why did I do this? Now, sometimes this cycle is 1 year. Sometimes this cycle is 5 years. And then, it sits down here at the bottom where the mainstream media, the normal conversation out in the world by the normies is real estate's bad. Real estate's down. Real estate's terrible. Should never do it. Oh no. But what we are clear on is that is the point of maximum financial opportunity. Opportunity. We got to understand that this is when things are on sale. This is the discount. This is where everyone needs to start buying. But what happened is the majority of people are now they're salty, they're sour, they don't want to be in it anymore because they had to ride this wave down. They bought up here and rode a wave down. Then we get into depression and hope, start to see a little blip of increase. But the people who bought up here are still looking at, oh, I bought a $400,000 house, now it's only worth 250. Down here is worth 200, and they're still not happy about it. But they can see an upward trend, and then we get back into life is good. Then they start talking about real estate again, and the thing starts over. Now, some of these cycles, like I said, are 5 years. The average real estate cycle is between 18 and 20 years. Well, where was the last major dip? All right, let's get back into our charts here. Hold this out for get a bigger scope. Okay, so this is the median sales price. Right before the bubble burst, 257,000 for the average. Then you can see down here it's 208,000 2 years later. So in this cycle right here, if you were in cash, you were loving it. If you were in equity, you couldn't sleep at night. This downtrend means, oh, wait a minute, discounts are coming. Folks, let's go. Discounts are coming. But the average feeling, right? And we cannot be investing on feelings, but we need to know what the feeling is in America for what people are going to do. The feeling is real estate bad. Real estate bad. But no, people who know that, wow, discounts are coming. It is time to double down. This is when we could buy 2 houses for the price of 1. Now, as we look over the next decade or so, as things start to really increase, we can see a 100% gain. Let's scoot this out here. A 100% gain. There we go, moving it around. 208 to 414 by 2022. So people who bought back here got to ride this amazing wave and do nothing, just sit and wait and watch everything double. And we're not even factoring in cash flow or tax deductions, which Bill was talking about a little bit earlier. We'll get into the whiteboard and we'll map out how those numbers work. But this is where you could do no wrong. But then what started happening? Well, back here, Wall Street manipulated mortgages, right? We've got mortgage-backed securities, and people are using these mortgages as securities, but obviously it was inflated, so of course it has to pop. But then as things start to grow again and Wall Street gets back into real estate, this is what starts to happen. People realize, no, I don't want the mortgage-backed security. I want the asset itself. You know, Warren Buffett with his company, Berkshire Hathaway, purchased in this time frame, in this last 10 years, their company bought 10,000 houses, not mortgages, not securities, the house itself, the parcel, the tax ID, the map, the house, the asset, the structure. You know, why do you think he did that? For control, so that he could hold all 4 pieces of the puzzle, not just the one of value, but he could also get the cash flow, the depreciation, the tax write-offs, and the debt consolidation. Well, the last 2 years, we zoom in on this now, people are starting to wonder what to do. It goes down, and they say, oh no, this is it, and then they sell. They say, I want to get out before it drops, so they sell. But then a few people more houses show up on the market at a lower price. So a bunch of people start buying, and then it goes up again. And then the people who sold back here go, dang it. So then they go and buy something again. This cycle is going to continue. Now, this big gain right here was because of this chart. This chart right here. Ooh, buddy. So what we have up here now is interest rates. The 30-year average interest rate on a mortgage. Sorry, the average interest rate on a 30-year mortgage. And this is from 2011. Let me scoot back just a little bit here, so we can watch what happened. Okay, so interest rates were at 6.69, drops down over a point. And for, when people look at interest rates going up, they think, okay, it's been a correction. And then they buy a little bit more, but then it gets dumped again. And then we have what's called a false top. Two false tops right here. What that means is it wasn't able to continue going up again. Fear sets in, and boom, it drops, now down to 4.78. Okay, and it wipes everybody out, except for the people who were not highly leveraged. The people who were paying cash, using seller financing, using subject to, using lease options, all these different methods of holding and acquiring real estate, other than going to a bank with 5 or 15 or 20% down and getting a mortgage. This was peak financial opportunity. But what the vibe was scary, scary. Real estate's down. They want to go into gold. They want to go into 10-year bonds. And they missed it. This was actually when I started investing in real estate. It was right here, January 2010. That's when I got into real estate investing. I had worked enough jobs. I was looking at the student loans. I was just, I was eating one meal a day, living in a basement, riding the bus. And someone said, hey, Michael, you want to fix your financial problems, your financial woes? You want to have a complete turnaround? You need to get into real estate investing. Now, how many of you, when you think about the perfect real estate investor, think someone with a 500 credit score, no car, more debt than their yearly income, and no experience? And you think, this is a great setup for a real estate investor. Well, my point is that whatever situation you find yourself in right now, don't make excuses about now's not the time. Maybe let's wait a little bit. Let's wait for it to drop. The drop is coming in a different way, folks. But I'll get to that in a second. So over the next couple of years, as construction was halted, they started dropping the interest rate to try to get more people to buy. But the construction cost, which we'll get into in a second, was cost prohibitive. They couldn't build the same way. Everything was frozen. Construction companies were so far behind that they started to lower the interest rate again. Now, down in 2013, the interest rate was down to 3.5, little under 3.5. So in just a 5-year period, the cost to borrow money was cut in half. And this is where my team and I, and a big part of our community, went gangbusters. The fix and flips, we started getting into new construction. This was so easy. We had a huge flood of people jumping into the market. So of course, they're going to raise the rates again. But Then, of course, we weren't able to build fast enough, and the demand changed. Supply couldn't keep up. People get worried, so they drop the rate again. Now we're down into 2016, and again, the cycle makes people fearful. But what Warren Buffett tells us is that when people are fearful, be greedy, and when people are greedy, be fearful. Right? So back here was all sorts of greed, greed, greed. This was a sign: get into cash and wait for the drop. Happens again, people get greedy, 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 greedy. And this is another signal for you to switch to cash, wait for a drop. Now, nobody knew this crazy what do you call it now, right? What could you simply put? We'll call it market manipulation, right? This is market manipulation. Now they did it through a crazy virus that I'm trying to leave my own personal opinions out of it and just go off the data. But this was market manipulation, and it started screaming down. And my friends and I were sitting here going, "Is this going to hit zero? Are we about to get free money?" I mean, 2.6 is as close to free money as you can get. And so we started accumulating like crazy. Accumulate, accumulate, accumulate. And now, as Wall Street has spent more time, Berkshire Hathaway, BlackRock, all these hedge funds are now buying residential real estate as part of their portfolio. They're not buying the mortgages. They're not on the secondary market of notes. They're buying the asset itself, which shot the values through the roof, which allowed the Fed to raise the rates to where it was squeezing everybody out. Well, what do you think is going to happen next? Values are going to continue to rise. It's going to be harder for people because of inflation to qualify for a mortgage. And so then, of course, there was a little bit of a correction over, we look at this here, from October to January, an entire percent drop in one quarter. So let's zoom in on that. Right, this right here. In one quarter, an entire percent drop. Well, what does that do for people? That gives them the signal to buy again. So the demand. And some people said, "Ooh, look at that! My house went up." So they decide to sell. Pushes more supply onto the market and drops it again. Now let's switch charts. We'll come back to this one in a minute. So that was on interest rates. Now let's talk about the value. The value of the house. Oh my goodness. Right now, what they're saying is the average house is between 5 and 510. $500,000 for the average house. Now, back when common sense investing and we didn't have Wall Street, when Wall Street stayed on Wall Street and not on Main Street, as soon as housing prices was more than 2.5, 2.5 times the average income, which will be one of our next charts, then price dropped. But now we're going right above that, 3.5, 3.7. We're over 4 times the cost of a house to the average income, and it's still not dropping. This is because Wall Street has finally realized this is where they want to be. This is where we get into all 4 quadrants of the benefits. So you got to pay attention to the narrative and what they're saying. They're not buying the mortgage anymore. They're buying the asset. What does that tell you you need to be doing? If you would have bought 10 houses back here and just factoring your value, not your cash flow, not your depreciation, not your tax write-offs, just the value, and it went from 250 to 500, you could have sold half your portfolio and paid off the other half and been completely out of the rat race for the rest of your life, your kids' lives, your grandkids, your great grandkids. It would have completely changed your financial family, your family's destiny. Completely. But the feeling back here for people was real estate bad, right? Going back to this cycle. Right down here, 2010, real estate bad. We cannot be following the normies. You cannot be listening to the majority of people, or you're going to lose. This is where people in our world were doubling down. They were maxing out their credit lines. They were raising as much capital as they possibly could to buy city blocks, not just one house, but 10 houses. Not just a duplex, but a 200-unit building. And what's interesting, though, is when you factor in cash flow and tax deductions that come from owning real estate, if you had bought 10 houses back here, you could have sold 2 houses right here, kept 8, and been debt-free. Having 8 houses, put your net worth on, if we're just going averages here, we'll put you at a $4 million net worth. Having 8 houses right now brings in $8,000 to $15,000 a month. You're out of the rat race. You're done. But not enough people did that because they were going off of feels, off of vibes. And Wall Street comes in and just starts scooping up houses. Now, investing in a hedge fund, cool. You can get yourself a 5, 10, 12% return. That's great. But you want a 50, 80, 100% return, you need to own the entire asset. And you got to shake off this mindset of, I need 20% down. I need a 700 credit score to do this, or a 680. That's not how we think. That's conventional wisdom, sure. But you want the insight that can actually change your life. We need to change how we're looking at things. Okay, next, supply of housing. Zoom out a little bit here. Oh, buddy. See, it's so clear when you zoom out, but when you're in it, right? If you're only looking at this section right here, everyone thinks can't lose. The normie brain thinks can't lose, but when we are clear that no, this is a bubble, this is going to pop. The supply of new houses in the United States, month over month. What this is saying is how many months could we go without building another house? With all the houses on the market being sold before there's no more houses. Right here it's saying over a year. But then because of bank bailouts, which I think is criminal, if a bank lies and then goes bankrupt because of it, they need to be completely out. But then the Federal Reserve prints more money, devalues your dollar even more to bail out unscrupulous, illegal, in some cases, illegal activity to save face, essentially. And here people lost, well, Bill was telling you what happened to his dad, 40% of their value because of the Federal Reserve printing their money. So construction halts. And over this time frame, it goes down to 7. And then for the next few years, it just goes down and down and down and down to only a 4-month period. Now, if you were in our community, if you were, hopping onto our trainings and our calls and coming to our workshops, we were telling you, what a great time to buy. Let's go, let's go, let's go. And if you were a builder, anything that you speculated on building was flying off the shelf because we could not keep up with the demand. Now, I'm not saying get into building. That is its own animal. That requires a lot of moving parts and a total different management mindset. But you could be on the lending side of building and still things are going great for you. Now, what else happened in 2012, 2013? Right, was an election year as well. Okay, so we got promises of new hope, new future, and this flushed out a lot of the silly builders as well back here, right? Then things start to pick up. They do their regular consolidation. Then 2016, another election. And, we're going to drill, baby, drill. We're, make America great again. Everything's going up, 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 up. And builders now have more resources available. But the thing is that the dollar devaluation for this 10-year period meant the cost of a 2x4 is now double. So what does that do to the house pricing? Well, we just looked at that on the last chart, right? But what a crazy time right here. Now, all of a sudden, boom. Only a 3-month supply in the middle of 2020. People were freaking out. Federal Reserve drops the interest rate from the Federal Reserve to central banks to 0%. And then, central banks take it to the regional banks and then to us, standard borrowers. And we're getting money for 2%. That's incredible. But the fear, right? We'll go back to this chart again. This is such an important chart. This is 2020. The fear. Oh no, oh no. Right? 2010, 2020. It's a cycle, folks. What we want to give you is the mindset, the skill set, the tool set to be able to take advantage of this next wave. Here. Okay, where's my other chart? Okay, so where is the biggest opportunity now? Zoom in on this. People want to know, how do I get into real estate? Actually, now is a good time to switch over to the whiteboard. We're going to talk about the 4 benefits of real estate. So when it's time for you to go raise your capital, when it's time for you to put a deal together and have those negotiations, I'm telling you that one of the easiest ways to go about this is to talk to your friends and family, because they're already investing, but they're putting their money in a 401k that's spread across S&P or NASDAQ, and they're getting a tiny return. The stockbrokers and the fund managers are taking the majority of the profit, and they're kicking out what it looks like a 4% return, a 5% return. You get an employee match. Holy moly! Now you're getting 6%. But if inflation is 10% and you're getting 6%, you're losing 4%. How long can you lose 4% and still stay in the game? So we got to keep our mindset open to a new possibility and how to look at the entire picture and not just get fixated on value. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to share my whiteboard here. We're going to draw out a few things. Now, something else that's funny that when the White House and different administrations are giving us different reports about how things are doing, a new word that they've come up with is called underemployment. Underemployment, not unemployment. Right? When they say, hey, unemployment is down, everything's great now. But then they had to come up with a new word, underemployment. You still have a job, but you can't pay enough. And what they used to do was they would call businesses and they would ask them how's their hiring and firing. But now instead, they're calling the citizen and asking them if they have a job or not. And this is the false data compared to what has historically been used for the unemployment rate. So that's another thing we got to look at. But all right. How to win. How to win big for you, your family, as a way to honor your ancestors and protect your future bloodline. Otherwise, you're going to be in the 99% in the hamster wheel and wonder what life could have been. No. Our students, our community members are winning in such a big way. Let's talk about this. Benefits of real estate. And I'm going to go conservative on this, and we're going to go simplified. Okay, now in our longer streams and in our in-depth boot camps and coaching calls, we break each quadrant down in detail. But let's just look at it. If you have $10,000, okay, now again, we could do real estate with $0, and maybe we'll get into that in just a minute here. But let's say you have $10,000 and you can put it in your 401k, you could put it in the stock market, or you could put it into real estate. But you got to think, why do some people have 20 houses and you only need one to live in? Because we got to copy what the wealthy do. Okay, so you got 10,000 bucks. Where should you put it? Well, let's say you go and buy a rental and you buy a $100,000 house. You put 10% down. Actually, you know what? You can get a conventional loan with 5% down. So let's say you buy a $200,000 house with 10,000 down. Okay? And our first category is called appreciation. Appreciation. When we were just looking at these charts earlier, historically, appreciation is 4%. We take a 100-year look. Of course, there's booms and busts. But if we just take a 4% approach to this, okay, we'll go do some math here. The next category is cash flow. Because we're buying real estate not to just have it, but to cash flow from it, right? The grocery money, the gas money, the lifestyle money, not just paying off debt. Then we have depreciation, and then we have amortization. And for those of you who've come to our Velocity Banking workshops, we've talked about amortization, in detail with the calculators, and you know that you want to be on the right side of amortization. You want to be creating notes, creating buying opportunities for new buyers, and doing what banks do. But we'll get into that. Okay, So in the appreciation category, if year over year, you're getting a 4% appreciation. If you were to put that 10,000 in the stock market and get a 4% appreciation, that would turn into a $400 gain if you were to put it in the stock market on 4%, right? 10,000, 4%. But in our real estate strategy, 4%. Are we getting 4% on our down payment? Or are we getting 4% on the asset? It's the asset. Well, what is 4% of 200,000? Well, 1% is 2,000, right? So then we just times 2,000 by 4. So it's 8,000 gain. Now that's not grocery money, that's not gas money, that's not, birthday present money, but that's asset value, that's net worth that goes on your balance sheet. Okay, when we talk about balance sheet real quick, this is one of the most important ways of looking at your financial report. And some of you just went, oh no, financial reporting. No, I'm not talking about it like that. Over here we have income, expenses, assets, and liabilities. And I want you to pay attention here because there's only 3 cash flow patterns. 3 cash flow patterns. We got to be looking at this from, CEO boss perspective, not from consumer employee perspective, which is so difficult for some people because they were, from birth to 18, you got 18 years of propaganda and lies about what you're capable of in America. People don't realize what our founding fathers worked for us to become sovereign, independent, wealthy, and the system that we're in now is working against that. The public education system, the banking system, the job sector, credit cards, everything is trying to keep you stuck in the first cash flow pattern, which is dollars come in, dollars go out. Okay, and it doesn't matter. The dollar amount in does not matter. It's what you do with it. Okay, this cash flow pattern we call poor. Right? You're taking your fiat currency and you're buying the goods and services that you need for your life. It doesn't matter if this is 10K a year or 100K a year. If you do this, you are poor. The next cash flow pattern, and again, like I said, it doesn't matter the dollar amount, but the dollars come in, they go and buy a liability or get stuck in a liability, student loan, an RV, boat payment, just credit cards, field goods, whatever it is liability by definition is something that costs on a monthly basis. Okay? Costs on a monthly basis. Well, that expense goes out. But if you only have one house, and let's say you just bought the house you live in, okay, your primary residence is still considered a liability because it costs you on a monthly basis. Even if it's free and clear, even if you have no mortgage, it still costs. You got utilities, you got taxes. You better pay your taxes or you don't get your house. Okay, you got maintenance, right? Things break, things wear out, planned obsolescence. And then you got to insure the thing. So there's still thousands of dollars in cost every year. But lifestyle has improved because now you have a house. Okay. But this cash flow pattern is what we call middle class. Money comes in, buy a liability, money goes out. Right? Cars, RV, boat, credit cards, student loans, middle class. And this liability continues to create an expense. And there's just a cycle that just happens right here. And like I said, it doesn't matter the income. It's the mindset. It's the process. It's what you do with your dollars. And then finally, the third cash flow pattern, money comes in. You direct it to buy an asset, a rental, a tax lien, a note. Now, let's be clear, a seller financed note on residential real estate, not a bank note. Do not buy bank notes. You will hate it. There are so many extra rules that come with it. It might look very similar on paper. Performing bank notes and seller finance notes will look very similar. But if you buy a bank note, you have to follow banking rules and guidelines, which means you cannot even send a notice of default for 90 days. But you got a seller finance note, they're 10 days late, you're on the phone. Okay, there's so many more restrictions in bank notes than the seller finance notes. So when I say notes, I'm specifically talking about seller finance notes on residential real estate. That is gold. And for those of you who came to our workshop a few months ago on that, you got to see all the numbers behind that. Right? We had the third largest note broker in the country doing a training with us all day, and he broke it down. But my point is, if you don't want to deal with the rental day-to-day operations, that's fine. There's still things that are going to produce cash flow, tax liens, deeds, different assets. Okay, and by the financial definition of an asset, is it something that pays on a monthly basis instead of costs on a monthly basis? Okay, well, that pay is another source of income. And then you take that pay to pay for your expenses and money goes out. That is the wealthy cash flow pattern. And this is why the rich get richer, because they're buying things that just go up in value. Every time the Federal Reserve prints another batch of money, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Now, the poor are fooled because they have more cash, but the cash is worth less. Okay, you put a space in there, worth less, but you can also put it together, worthless. Every time they print more money, it makes it worth less. And it widens the gap between the have-nots and the have-yots. So it doesn't matter your dollar income. What really matters is your habits. Aristotle said, we are what we repeatedly do. Therefore, excellence is not an act, but a habit. Your habits will determine where you end up 1 year, 5 years, 10 years from now, what kind of lifestyle your family will have. So habitually buy assets, even if you got to start small. It's the habit that will change everything for you. Okay, so let's get back into our diagram. So you got your 10,000 bucks. You go and identify where can you buy a rental. You get yourself a conventional mortgage, 5% down. Now, when we're talking about cash flow in this quadrant here, we're talking about after the mortgage payment, not the gross income, but the net income. Okay, the net cash flow. What you'll hear from our CPAs or tax attorneys and our advisors is do not buy a rental unless it cash flows a minimum of $400 a month. If you buy something less than that and you have a leaky roof, water heater goes out, window breaks, something happens, that cash flow is gone. Okay, don't be fooled in thinking, oh, well, it's break even, so it'll be all right. No, there are too many opportunities out there. You don't need to do a break even. Not our students. Okay, so now you got 400 a month. So times that by 12, 4,800 in this category. Next is depreciation. See, one thing on the I'm gonna have to credit Robert Kiyosaki on this. The guy's got some great stuff to talk about. He talks about the cash flow quadrant and where people fall. We got employees, we got self-employed, we got business owners, and we have investors. Okay, and this is the 99% over here. And people are fooled even when they're self-employed and they think, oh, I own my own business. No, you don't. A business is a system that runs without you. If you're an accountant, or you're a handyman, or you're a landscaper, or you're an architect, or you're a graphic designer, it doesn't matter. You could own the business, like Bill was talking about earlier. Cool, go start the LLC. Cool, you own the business now. But the question is, if you stop working and the money stops coming in, it's not a business in the financial sense. If the money stops because you stop, what's the difference between being self-employed and employed? Nothing. You're in the same boat. You stop, the money stops, right? You go take a vacation for 2 weeks and that money doesn't come in. It is not a business. This means it runs without you. Okay, so the 1% are over here. They own businesses and they invest, and specifically in assets, not in speculation. But sometimes you got to speculate, okay? So our mission, what we've been so successful at, is getting people to become business owners and investors, to go from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. Now, over here, you own the system, and over here, you own the money. And the money just brings more money. But this is where winners hang out. Okay? Now, one reason why we want to own businesses is because there are what are called tax write-offs. Now, we're going to get into a new phase this year and the next year when we see more and more tariffs coming on goods and services, bringing in more revenue into our country. But for some reason, about 100 years ago, the Interior and the Secretary and the Treasury decided, instead of charging other countries to do business inside of America, we're going to charge Americans to do business, and we're going to tax them. We're going to take their money every time they touch it. If they earn it, we're going to tax them. If they spend it, we're going to tax them. What a mess. What a mess. Well, if you're a business owner, there are approximately 400 categories of tax write-offs. Now, what is a tax write-off? By definition, a tax write-off is a cost incurred in the production of income. Cost incurred in the production of income. So if you hire someone to work in your business, that's a cost that you've incurred. You get to write off someone else's salary. Well, if you need to take out an ad or buy a computer or whatever, right? They've left it vague because there are so many costs. Costs incurred in the production of income. When I have to travel, I go have a business meeting. I don't call it a vacation, right? We just went to Costa Rica. We just went to Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. We didn't have a vacation. We had a business meeting in a tropical destination. I had to meet some other clients and partners, and we just ended up having a meeting at a 5-star resort, but it was still a cost incurred in the production of income. So I got to write off travel, dining, entertainment, equipment. Like I said, there's over 400 categories of write-offs. Well, one big one is interest and maintenance on your assets. Maintenance. Okay, so, and I could spend another hour on this, but we're going to jump back over to here. In this depreciation, what they're saying is that the value of a house is going to go down if you don't maintain it. 27 and a half, I don't know why they got the half, but 27 and a half years of depreciation and the house will be worth 0. So what the IRS worked out, some crazy, complicated, convoluted way, was essentially, to simplify, if you maintain a house as a rental, you can write off all the dollars it costs to maintain that asset. Now, what our CPAs tell us is over tens of thousands of tax returns. We'll just take some averages. The average tax return, the average rental has a $6,000 loss on taxes when you start to add up the interest, the repairs, the maintenance, the advertising, the the vacancies, the management fees. There's so much that when you start to add it all up, the average rental across tens of thousands of returns that we've analyzed is about $6,000. Okay. Now, if you are in a, let's keep things simple again, 33% tax bracket, or 30%, let's say a 30% tax bracket, 30% tax bracket. What that means is this $6,000 loss on paper, excuse me, equates to a $2,000 return on your taxes. Okay, this is not a credit, it's a write-off, which is 1/3 of a dollar. So that equates to approximately a $2,000 real dollars, $6,000 loss on your spreadsheet. Isn't that interesting? That as we're making money, it's still on paper, it loses money. Well, why? Part of it is because of the amortization. If you have $200,000 and you spend $200,000 on a rental property, you're dumb. That's not how the game is set up. Now, okay, maybe that's a little harsh to say you're dumb. You go, well, I don't want the headache of a mortgage, and what if? Okay, but still, you're able to leverage 95% to 1. 95 to 5. Like, if you have $200,000 and you could go buy a house for 10 grand, you should be buying 20 houses, not 1. All right, that's beside the point. Amortization. This is an interesting word. Okay. Amortize. Mort. No, this is a Latin-based word. Mort means death. Mort means death, right? Mortal, mortuary, mort means death. Okay, now we get a mortgage. Gage means a pledge or a promise. So you're getting a death pledge. But what's interesting is in our language, whenever you put an A in front of something, right? Asymmetrical, it means not. A is a negative, right? It's a cancel. A is on the negative side of things. So what this is saying, amortization is something that doesn't die. And we would go look at a chart here. I'm just going to draw it out because I don't want to switch back to the laptop, but we can pull it up. Essentially, when we go look at a chart, on an amortization table and we see the balance of our loan and the time it takes. We go get our $200,000 mortgage, and over a 30-year period, we go and pay it off. Okay, let's say it's 30 years here and 0 over here. We got our $200,000 mortgage here. I really should be putting $500,000 for the average cost of the house, but we don't pay average prices because we buy discounted property too. So that could be added into the other category. Anyway, what happens here is that, and then yes, you have your fixed payment as well. Okay, so you got your payment up here. So you're paying the same payment every month for 30 years. It's locked in. That's one of the attractive things about this. And this is your equity build using just a mortgage. Okay, and then this will be the interest paid. The interest and the balance are very similar because of how they've set up a mortgage, a death promise. Okay, so on your $200,000 mortgage, $200,000 at 6% is roughly $1,200 a month. Okay, so you need to be, according to our other quadrant here, you need to be renting it for at least $1,600 a month if your payment is $1,200. Now, out of that $1,200 for the first 5 years, you are paying approximately 80% of your dollars are just interest to the bank. Just interest. This little green line down here is your principal. And all of this is your interest. We don't really get into principal for quite some time. So we take a snapshot now and we say 60 payments of $1,200, right? 5 years. So 60 payments of $1,200 is $72,000. Out of pocket. And 80% of that is $56,000 of interest. Now, so the remaining math on that is 14,000 is principal. But the thing is that the rental, the renter, the person who works 30, 40, 50 hours a week to make their most important payment of the month, which is their housing payment, paying that to you, they helped you pay off, in this example, $14,000 of debt. But over here, and well, let's we'll average it out. Divided by 5 so we can get our year. 2,500 ish. We'll say 3,000. We'll keep everything with zeros. Ish. I say ish. So what's happened here is we've reduced our debt by $3,000 the first year, approximately. And year after year for the first 10 years or so, maybe even 15. And then it'll start to take off. So we're just going to look at the beginning part of our investment. A $3,000 reduction in principal average. Okay, now again, that's not cash on the table, that's not grocery money, that's not spendable money, but it's still measurable and goes on your balance sheet, right down here. It goes this, you're reducing your liabilities and increasing your assets by doing that. So now the question is, you laid out $10,000 and 12 months go by. What happened? What is the ROI? What is the return? The return on the investment. Okay, if the investment is 10,000, what returned? Well, let's add it up. We have 8,000, 4,800, 2,000, and 3,000. So that's 12, 17, 8. If 17,800 was returned and 10,000 was allocated, that is a 178% ROI. Why on earth would you put $10,000 into a 401k when you could buy a rental property? Well, people won't do it because of fear, because of the narrative, because of capitulation and water cooler talk about what's actually happening. And you get bad information. You don't do your taxes right. You're not set up in an LLC. You have no idea how amortization works. And so you just say, I'm going to outsource my thinking. And hopefully that Wall Street fund that has those brokers who have to have fiduciary responsibilities but lie anyway, hopefully they'll take care of my retirement. Yeah, right. That is not going to happen. How long would it take for you to get wealthy if you compound a 178% return? Right? Because just in this quadrant here, this is an 80% return just right here. This is I kept my math easy for 10,000. This is a 48% return right here. Now that, even just that's your spendable money. That's your grocery money. That's your lifestyle. 48% return. Another 20% here. Another 30% here. Now let's say, and of course I'm trying to be average because in some places we can have appreciation go way higher than 4%. And if you're strategic about your taxes, you can get way more than a $6,000 loss, especially when you factor in cost segregation or you get into commercial real estate. And if you, in this category, if you do our velocity banking strategy, you could absolutely crush it on the amortization and change it to something like 30,000 instead of 3. Right? But I'm trying to be conservative in everything. Let's say you go vacant 6 months out of the year and your cash flow is only 24%. Still. Now, of course, there's other things to consider and factor in, and we got the spreadsheets for our students to plug into and see the whole big picture. But what I'm trying to point out to you is when you go have a conversation with your friends and your family about how are we going to get out of debt? How are we going to shore up our family's economic well-being for the next 15, 20 years? Real estate is the answer. Some people buy gold. Okay. But does gold have a utility? Sure. If you're in the semiconductor business, okay. But gold doesn't have nearly the same utility as real estate. So that's why we get into it. Real estate is one of the safest, easiest, most consistent returns that you could possibly get into. It's one of those things that levels the playing field. Now, let's say you cut that in half. And you're only getting what is that? 84% return. cut that into a quarter, and now you're only getting a 42% return, right? Like, come on. There's no way your 401k is going to do that, or your IRA is going to do that. Now, when we compound everything, we start to look at the entire view of what's possible. We've only scratched the surface here. That's why our students are not just in it for a 4-hour boot camp, but they're in for a 2 to 5 year game plan to get out of the rat race permanently. Not through hope or wish or luck, but through a system, a predictable, programmable system that does require you to work. It requires you to put in offers, analyze deals, reduce your risk, stay in the know. That's why we have workshops like this on a regular basis. But when you go to your friends and family, your coworkers and associates, and you say, hey, let's get into real estate investing, even if we're off by, and again, I went conservative on this. A quarter of it is still a 42% return. When we look at the rule of 72, which tells us how often our money doubles, a 42% return is 2.5 years, your money doubles. And we don't even look at, we're running out of time here, but a $200,000 house, if you're paying full retail, that's what happens. If you know what we know and you follow through the system that I'm about to show you, and let's say you buy that $200,000 house for $100,000 purchase, and then you have to repair it. Let's say you put another $50,000 into repairs to fix it up. At the closing table, you have just increased your net worth by 50 grand. A $50,000 increase of your net worth just by buying the thing, let alone all the other returns that we just calculated here. Right? When you buy discounted real estate and you just keep adding that to your asset column, even if you just bought 1 year for the next 10 years, if you paid retail price, you would still do fine. But what you could do is close your way to $1 million. Right? Every time you buy a house, you buy it at a discount, that gets added to the asset column. And you do it right, it creates an income. And we habitually, systematically change our family's destiny. This is too exciting. This is too important to ignore. It's too much is on the line to waste time, go on to, YouTube entertainment or, Twitter rants, and you get into these things where you just waste your entire time. Our students a year ago knew this and went gangbusters on buying real estate and transforming their family's situation. Whereas the normies outside of this were still speculating. They were worried about the fear, and they were looking at that cycle of, worry, doubt, capitulation. Don't be on the normie side of things. Get into real estate and do it with us. We have the best system when it comes to real estate investing. We have transformed tens of thousands of students systematically, predictably, to get out of the rat race and onto the fast track of life. Think about this. If you know that your money is coming in on a regular basis, what else could you do with your time? Could you be a better parent? Could you be a better spouse or sibling? Could you be a better contributing member to your community, to your church, to your PTA, to the things that matter to you? Could you, go and coach Little League or, volunteer at the different things that you want to do? Everything changes when you fix your money. But if you don't fix your money, it's the only thing that matters. So don't take your head in the sand approach. Let's get into real estate. Let's get into it in a big way. I'm going to pull up a different screen real quick, but what I want to do real quick, I want to highlight somebody, Miss Tamara Book. She is an amazing member of our community. She's been around for about a decade, and she has completely changed her family's destiny with real estate investing, business ownership, and utilizing all of these aspects, including what Bill was talking about earlier, to get herself out of the rat race, to buy real estate all over the country. And when she first came into this, she had no idea about real estate investing. She didn't go to a real estate investing college. She didn't go get a finance degree from some high university. In fact, the complete opposite. She got into textiles and design in a totally different way. And when she realized the opportunity of real estate, she decided to take it head on. So I'm going to stop my screen share and I'm going to invite her to come out and share her story for a moment about what's possible if you focus for just a little bit every week, but you stay focused. So everyone give a big warm welcome to Miss Tamara Buck. Good morning. I guess it's good afternoon now. How are you?
I'm fantastic, Michael. Thank you. What a great breakdown. And we didn't properly give you an introduction, but thank you for all you contribute to our community. And just for our friendship over the years. We've had some, Michael's been a huge part of my growth in my business. And he's one of those people that everyone needs. So I'm super grateful to have you as a leader and just as a friend in my life over the years. We've had some fun times.
Absolutely.
So have you guys had a good learning experience today with Bill and Michael? If you have, type a 1 in the chat, or come on camera and say hello. But just to give you my testimony, I, like Michael said, I came from the fashion entertainment industry, a lot like real estate investing. Not at all. And it was quite a journey for me. It was not an easy transition. I'll be very transparent with you guys. I had to completely change my mindset. And again, Michael was a big part of that, and unlearn a lot of the things that I was taught in school and life to relearn how to live the life by design that I wanted to create. And it was because of our systems, our education, that I've been able to do that. So let's see, since I came across this opportunity, I said, I don't know anything about real estate investing, but these are the people that I know I need to surround myself and spend my time with. So after about 4 or 5 years diving into the community, taking the classes, I was able to build my first portfolio. And it was a great portfolio. We were cash flowing. I had a partner on this one. It was cash flowing. I think we were reaching around $2,000 a month, which doesn't sound like a lot, but in your early stages it is. And then long story short, I ended up liquidating that portfolio and getting into building my own portfolio. And now I'm about 10 properties in, and I have not told anyone this yet, and I'm not going to, but I'll let you guys know since you're on this call. I'm at this moment under contract and evaluating a portfolio of about 15 to 20 properties that would put me where I've wanted to be and work towards being. Now, I don't know if I'm definitely going to buy all of them. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's too early. I just had my contract out there yesterday and we're negotiating, but none of this would be possible if it wasn't but it'll definitely, my cash flow will significantly increase from that. I've got property in Tennessee where Michael is, but none of this would be possible if it wasn't for the education. And that's going to allow me, I just started this nonprofit behind me that you see, Waves of Love. That's something I'm very passionate about. I'm going to get to spend more time with my family and, creating a legacy for my future family. So that's just a little bit of what I've been able to accomplish. I could probably talk a little bit longer, but I'll, just to give you a testimony that if you work, guess what? The education works. And if you plug in and people like Bill and Michael, you'll get out what you put in, and they're great people. Bill and Michael, Bill, I talk to on both of them. I speak to on a regular basis, and I get endless support from these guys. So if you're looking for support, if you're looking for community, this is definitely the right place.
Wonderful. Yeah. And, Tamara does a lot behind the scenes with her New York team, with the Florida stuff that we're doing. And so one benefit of the membership in the program here is you get a community of like-minded people who are in it, in the trenches, doing the work on a daily basis, analyzing the charts, analyzing the deals, looking over your shoulder, so to speak, making sure you don't do dumb stuff, essentially, so you don't lose your money, so you don't take unnecessary risk, and you compound your interest. You compound those returns to where 2 years from now or 5 years from now, you're in an unrecognizable situation. Looking back, going, I can't believe the world of difference I'm in right now, where my yearly income is now my monthly income, and my taxes went from 40% down to 15% or 10%, which means more cash on the table, which you go invest and buy more discounted real estate, and you compound the whole thing. You could do this for a life, but you really only need to do this for 5 to 10 years, and everything changes forever, right? The people who write the rules in this country about taxes and banking, they also are real estate investors. So they're going to write the rules that benefit them. So that's the game. Get in on this side of the game so you can benefit too. Stop making excuses about it's too hard. I don't know if I can. Don't talk like that. Of course you can. Of course you can. Now, let me show you 2 other resources real quick here. First one is my team page here, WeCreateRealEstateInvestors.com. Okay. I have different ideas and stuff that we share on a weekly basis. We also have what's called the Invest Edge, which happens with our CEO and top real estate investors around the country on a weekly basis. Now, this is there's 2 ways to plug in. If you're just a guest, there's one way to watch it. If you're a member, you'll be logged in with the live chat so that you can get your questions answered. And then we also have our study groups, our one-on-one coaching, and we also have a national convention coming up. This will absolutely change your network. And remember what they say about your network is your net worth. You got to know more investors. You need to know more millionaires, decamillionaires, centimillionaires. You got to make that the goal to add a millionaire to your phone book every month. Well, one way to do that is to come to our national convention. That's going to be in Salt Lake City, Utah, March 20th through the 22nd. Right now, tickets are about $400. They will be going up. So there's an early bird special going on right now. And then we also do a weekly training between myself, Bill, and Dane. We've done nearly 1,000 deals. And we just volunteer on a weekly basis. I do Mondays and Thursdays. Bill does Tuesdays. Dane does Wednesdays. And we help you break down deals, break down business concepts, how to negotiate with banks for better lending, how to put together funds, all kinds of stuff. And you can join those here. And then what I've also invited you to do is sync up your calendar with us. So that'll be a resource for you. So these things will just pop in for you and you can get the notifications. Okay. Then the other thing I want to show off is our training platform. Okay, we call this Helios. And our course library is what Bill was talking about earlier. This is what we spend our time in. When we do our study groups, we're referring to the classes in the coursework here. Now, each of our instructors and trainers, facilitators are wealthy in their own right. In order for someone to teach for us, they have to have made $1 million in the thing they're teaching. Right now we have 41 instructors, and we have over 90 full-day courses on everything from commercial to business credit to raising money to discounted purchases to even how to learn faster, right? In this age of TikTok brain, you got to know how to get an angle on your brain so that you can retain more information. Everything that you need to know about real estate, every aspect we've talked about, negotiating, even home inspections, contracts, right? So Nicole Call is an attorney. She'll go over how to put your contracts together. Now you could pay an attorney $400 an hour to help with contracts, or you could come study with Nicole. She's got an amazing course in here, 7.5 hours, a great workbook that comes along with it. And these are not just cute little PowerPoint slides. This workbook alone is 154 pages. Okay, there's going to be pre-tests and post-tests to go along with everything you're learning. And then she's going to walk you through how to structure your paperwork. Don't be an idiot. Don't lose your money. Anyway, all the resources are here. In addition to that, we also have the software that will help you find more leads, help you analyze your deals, plug the numbers in. Should I wholesale this? Should I fix and flip this? Should I buy and hold this? Should I say no to this? And going through the whole software experience, we have AI that will tell you what is most likely to happen in the next 30 days in this area, even when it comes to people's financial situations. You will learn how to identify people who are about to miss their first payment. You know, it was just a couple years ago, if you were getting those 90-day default lists, you were on the cutting edge. Guys, our AI will tell you before they miss their first payment what's likely to happen. So you could get ahead of the game before you get those notice of defaults and then, you know, flood their inbox with mail and emails. And you got a 90-day, 120-day head start on the normies. So our AI is amazing as well. And that'll show you how do's and don'ts for putting in your offers and simplifying and systematizing. Okay, because time is precious. And if you're very limited on your time right now, which I get it. When I came in here, I could only work 10 p.m. to midnight because I was working 7 a.m. to 10, 6 days a week. So I could only do the stuff at night through email. I didn't have a fancy job where I could take phone calls. I was working on cars all day. And so I was still able to get out of the rat race using this system. Now, it took me 9 months to do my first deal, but that first deal made my yearly income. So I quit, and I've never had a job since. And I could show you that for 10,000 people inside of our system. Now, some people just want to buy one class. Okay, you could buy just one class. That's fine. But we also have what's called our Essentials package. And we have what's called our Profits package. But really where the gold is in the Accelerated Investor Training. This is where you get the hands-on, one-on-one experience where people walk you through your deals, make sure you don't do anything dumb, and then maximize returns. It's not just the net profit, right? Like we talked about earlier. Cash flow, depreciation, depreciation, amortization, all of it. We even have a class on body language. Why is body language important? Because when you go sit down with a homeowner, a negotiator, a lender, a contractor, anybody, negotiations is such a big deal. You need to know if they're telling the truth or not. Well, Matt is a detective, right? I believe a homicide detective, something like that. Anyway, he's a detective in the police force, and his wife is an attorney. So the two of them are just geniuses. And anyway, he wrote a whole course on how to understand body language and how to also make sure you're not sending off the wrong body language and sending a false signal to people that create doubt or fear or something. And you wonder why didn't the deal go together? Well, it's because you scratched your nose at the wrong time and you turned this way and you sent the wrong signal. But also people will tell you what they're thinking through their own body language. One of my favorite classes right now is land development. I just bought a 200-acre piece of property that we're developing into tiny houses. And I also bought some commercial property that we're developing into an apartment building. So all of these men and women put together courses for you to radically change your results in real estate. Now, it's not free. Dang it, I know. But you know what? The way we've set it up is it is so affordable that anyone can get started. And I'm just going to fly through a couple of these right here. So first, everybody needs what we have in our essentials. We talked about velocity banking, tax and legal, retirement accounts and credit. All this stuff affects you even if you're not a real estate investor. You're just an average Joe out in America. You still have to deal with banks, tax, legal, retirement accounts, and credit. So we'll show you how to do what the 1% in America do. The wealthy 1%, what do they do when it comes to banking, with tax, with legal, with retirement accounts and credit? And then we'll get into your real estate foundations. Not hype, not rumors, but practical, tactical. And then how to find the deal of the decade every week. Okay. 60 hours of coursework just inside of our essentials, comes with weekly group coaching as well. It's $23.37. Now, if you want to just buy one class, it's $1,000. But our essentials course is 11 classes. So just to put that together, we're going to give you an 80% discount if you buy the package. Now, we also have what are called learning paths for our AIT Advanced and our AIT Extreme. Now, learning path in the Advanced, you can pick 2 of them. For example, that could be multifamily and fix and flip, or commercial and land development. Okay, like you get to pick 2. Now we have 10. So if you want to buy all 10, that would be our Extreme Plus. If you do the Extreme Plus package with the essentials and the profits, everything that we have, you will also get one-on-one coaching. You get a lifetime membership. You get bonus courses and the profits course. If you were to piece it individually, you would spend over $100,000, especially with the one-on-one coaching. Now you can opt for 12 sessions whenever you want, or what we've added as a bonus is you can have unlimited one-on-one coaching for the first 6 months of your experience. As long as you are doing what the coach says, you can schedule coaching. As soon as you finish that assignment, you're on to the next coaching session. That in and of itself is worth 26 G's. Now, as a business owner and investor over the last 15 years, just on my own training and my own business systems, I've spent over $200,000. And I got to tell you, this training package, which is why I'm here with you, is the best money I've ever spent. The highest return. I've made millions of dollars in business and real estate because of what I've learned through this system. And I want you to have that too. So we got a 3-phase plan that will get you into your deal. You're going to take the essentials, then you're going to take the Genius course, and you're going to learn how to understand your brain and how to study fast, how to retain information better. You can unlock things in your brain that will astound you. I've had people take this Genius course, and at the end of it, they are in tears because they now understand. They're so grateful. They understand how their brain works and how they can study and retain this new body of knowledge called real estate investing. Then you're going to get into phase 3 with your AIT learning path. You're going to pick one and you're going to study it all the way through. And then you will get into your deal. Now, like I said, we do coaching. We do deal analysis. We do workshops. We do study groups. We do property tours. The hands-on stuff that will make it go from concept to reality for you. And then, of course, we got the software. We'll pull up motivated sellers all across the country, how to automate contacting them. And we'll get your deal. Now, how many deals you do is up to you. You have a 7-day right of rescission with us, so you can try it risk-free for 7 days. And then we're off to the races. Now you can pay with cash credit, retirement accounts, HELOCs, private funding, life insurance, and we also have our own in-house billing and funding assessments to get you lined up with 0% interest. The thing is, if you want to get into real estate investing and you want to become a millionaire, you cannot let a $25,000 training program stop you. The people who take our program and work the system inside of a year revolutionize everything. The other cool thing is that this $25,000 program is also a tax write-off. You could use future tax savings to reimburse you the cost of the program. So for some people, it is zero out of pocket to get into this. For me, it was, and I was only making $25,000 a year turning wrenches. But because of retirement accounts, I was able to get my education for zero out of pocket, and I've turned that into a multi-million-dollar business. I want that for you, but you got to work it. There are people all across the country doing deals. I want to highlight Steve real quick. Steve barely speaks English when he joined our program, and now he's worth tens of millions of dollars, and he doesn't use banks. He could, right? He's got an 800 credit score and a multi-million-dollar net worth and liquid as could be, but he doesn't use banks. He uses creative acquisitions. Alvin Lamb now owns hundreds of rentals, and he started out working at Chipotle, rolling burritos, and now he owns, like I said, hundreds of units in apartments. He just bought an adventure park, like a boating cabin experience thing. Guys, it doesn't matter your background as long as you try, as long as you put in the effort and get the right information. Dennis, who was on the normie path, right? He's working 30 years at his job, had a retirement account of 250,000, and he thought, hey, not bad, not bad. And it was kicking off $800 a month. Then he took our coursework, took control of his 401k instead of putting it in the stock market. Did you know your 401k can own real estate? And he turned that into a 4x gain inside of 1 year, just in net worth, and then a 4x on his cash flow. Now he can actually retire. 250,000 in a conventional retirement account will only take care of you for a few years, but you put that into real estate, it only goes up. Look at that over that 100-year period. What's happened? And as inflation continues, our population continues, and technology continues, real estate is going to be your sure bet. You got two choices though. You can go down that same old thinking and pound your head against the wall and hope and pray that something's going to change, or you can join a team of winners. Join a team of sophisticated investors using systems to get out of the rat race and live their best lives ever. Once you fix the money, it won't matter what the Fed does with an interest rate point here or there. It won't matter so much with inflation. Seriously, when I go to the grocery store, I don't look at the price. It's been years since I looked at the price. Don't be trying to pinch pennies. It's time to make millions and get in on the right side of things. So it's up to you. I invite you to join us. Now, some of you have already dropped off, right? Like you've already written off that it's not possible for you. And I'm sorry if that's your world and that's your reality. Sucks to be you. But there's a lot of you who have some questions and you need a strategy session. And some of you are like, I've seen enough, I'm in, right? Maybe this is your second or third workshop with us and you're ready to get started. Fantastic. Do the courtesy of allowing the person that invited you here to ask you if you're a 3, 2, or 1. For those of you who get started with us on your Extreme Plus, okay, this is not the Essential students, this is the Extreme Plus. We're going to be doing a couple bonuses. You're going to get unlimited coaching. You're going to get 6 months of our software. And then you're also going to get some workshops with me, Tamara, and I need to put on here, and Bill. And then we're going to be doing, helping you do your deal analysis every Monday night. Now, you do need to lower your risk. You do need to save time, and you do need to get into action. So let's get a strategy session set. Everybody's different, okay? The plan that worked for me, in a general sense, will work for you, but on an individual basis, you're going to need some new ideas. If it's retirement accounts, if it's a HELOC, if it's a life insurance. In your strategy session, we're going to go over goals, what to expect, how to get your program for little to nothing out of pocket, how to make sure it's a tax write-off for you, answer all of your questions, and build out a 30, 60, 90-day, 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year game plan so that you're winning. You're on the winning side of this. Ed Mylett, a fantastic author, business owner, podcaster. I like how he puts it. He says, few things are more expensive than the opportunities you miss. You pay for them with regret, doubt, and a lingering, haunting feeling of what could have been. Always remember that the price you pay to make your dreams come true is far less than what you pay if you don't. So for everything that we have to offer, our 90 classes, one-on-one coaching, group coaching, study groups, broken down individually, is the cost of a traditional college. But we have it at a discount, at a major discount. And you could even do in-house billing with us. You could just pay as you go because we know our program works. Absolutely. So get with the person that invited you here, get your strategy session set, join our Investor Edge on Monday night. It is something that's going to give you that edge. It's going to change the way you look at real estate, life, business, and it's going to change everything for you like it did for me. And lastly, what I want to say is 5 years are going to go by. In 2030, you're going to look back and you're going to wonder, if you don't get into real estate, what could have been, right? We went over a bunch of charts this morning, what has been happening and what the trends will tend to continue. We are in a new era of deregulation, of business-friendly administrations coming into power. The Treasury, the Secretary, everything is changing into pro-business. It's going to get easier in some regards. Now, that doesn't mean take it easy. No, no, no. That means double down on your efforts. Okay. This period of our country's economy, right? What just happened the last 4 years with the pandy and that administration that just printed money like insane maniacs who didn't care about people. And what's about to come, 30, 40 years from now, we will be talking about this was the roaring 20s. And your kids and your grandkids are gonna say, what did you do in the 2020 era? What did you do? And some of you will say, I worked. I took advantage of all the tools, the possibility, the community, the information. And that's why we have what we have. And some of you will say, well, I coulda, I shoulda, I woulda, but I didn't. And you're going to die alone in a nursing home. Broke. Gosh, that's harsh, isn't it? But, it's one thing you can count on me is to tell you the truth. You look at the numbers, real estate investors win. You can go slow in real estate, you can go fast in real estate. It doesn't matter. But the people who follow the process with their tax, with their legal, with their banking, with their credit, with their retirement accounts, with funds, with commercial, with residential, with notes, when you take the whole big picture, you're going to win. So get back with the person invited you here, get your strategy session set up, and let's find out what your goals are so we can help you map out a plan so you get the benefits of real estate that we're currently getting. Sound fair enough? Awesome. Well, like I said, for those of you who are members, I'll be seeing you Monday morning for our training call. You get Bill on Tuesday. You get Dane on Wednesday, and this just becomes your best year ever. It's time. Quit goofing around. Quit wasting time, and take advantage of what's in front of you. I'm gonna bring up my last chart here, just as a reminder. Actually, no, we're gonna switch it to this one here. Okay. I appreciate you all. It's been a wonderful day of training, and let's make the best of it. Set your goals. Get back with the person who invited you here. Work hard. Stay focused. Don't take no for an answer. And it's all about your mindset and what you're willing to work for. So I appreciate you all, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye now.